Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. Woo! The sensation, Jason Gavon!
Danmark har fået en ny verdensmester. Mikkel Tesla. He's the fucking champion of the world. Mikkel, man.
Nuthouse is Stevenson, piece of shit.
No, I think Rosado, good boy. Rosado is a good boy.
I've become a massive international superstar. It's as simple as that.
I eat your asshole alive, you bitch. Scared of the real man. I'll fuck you till you love me, faggot.
I'm going to physically shoot David Hay. He fucking glassed me. He glassed me. Derek, cool down.
I'm Shannon Bridge. I'm hard to kill. I'm the black meat with the ball. I'm hard to fucking kill.
Well, I believe Christopher can take a punch. I'm very good at math and looking at a fighter and seeing what his abilities are. I can't see that Golovkin has anything like Christopher's speed, his power, his punching ability, his hand speed, his foot movement. I don't see that from a calculating point of view. I don't see that he has anything like that. So then it's going to come down to heart.
You know, I spoke to Joe Gallagher, they don't want to fight Carl Frampton. And the bottom line is, you know, no disrespect to Prosper Anchor, these guys aren't good enough to face Carl Frampton.
I'm the best heavyweight champion in the world. I'm half WPC with me. I'm undefeated champion. Undisputed champion. I want who next?
He's got my dinoribonnucleic acid.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Who next?
I love boxing, Sam. It's as simple as that.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 435th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings and joining me on the call this evening we have Matty DiGialinardo, Ozzy Smith and Andy Patterson going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everyone listening through the week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice. Throughout the entire month of August, nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. I have been flicking through some of the reviews of late. Let's have a quick read out to them, shall we? First of all, Charles Lintner left us a review on Tuesday evening. Short, factual, straight to the point. Smido returns. 5 stars, says Charles. Can't get any more real than that. A shout out to Greg Cross as well. Big fan of the pod, big friend of the pod. The lads all clearly love the sport, says Greg. Really knowledgeable and invest a lot of time into ensuring the episode each week is full and entertaining. I look forward to every Monday when I can listen to the lads on my commute to work and back. Give it a listen and become an Asylum regular. Thank you very much for that, Greg. And finally, Mike Tyson 2007 says, great podcast, just a few geezers having a chat about boxing. Love it. If you enjoy the pod, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. We will go through the chat very shortly. If you don't enjoy the pod, life's short. There's about 1,000 boxing podcasts out there. Put the phone down and go and listen to one of them instead. Right, just before we start, Andy, you have alerted me to a Russian knockout of some repute. I've just seen it there. My God, talk about a headbanger.
I don't know if you can clip that, mate, just to kind of stick that on the YouTube thing for the guys not who are watching it by. But Fedor Papazov against Aslan Magomedov, top of the card last night in Russia. Right out of nowhere. I didn't see the actual fight itself. I just flicked forward to see the knockout. Vicious might, as Anthony Bellew would say. And according to Ben, he's telling me that guy Magomedov was actually sleeping for about an hour after that fight or after that knockout. So hope he's okay. Matty, I don't know if you want to comment, mate, but it was, as I say, it was a hell of a shot, mate. Just right out of the blue. It was a kind of left hand, then a right.
It was a pretty competitive fight too. Magomedov was boxing well. He was, he wasn't bossing the fight, but I thought he was holding his own. And then just out of nowhere, Papazov just catches him with his hands down, just a quick little blind with the jab, then right hand, just slight little tail on it, and good fucking night. Right leg folded up underneath him, and I'm watching it on ESPN Plus. They got one guy doing the feed. He's probably like watching it the same way we are, just giving a call. And at the end, the guy is still out. It's like 10 minutes after the shots landed. And he's like, well, we don't know if Magomedov is all right, but unfortunately, that's all the time we have. It's like just leaving us on the edge of our seats, like, thinking, fuck, another guy's dead in Russia. We got another Kovalev on our hands. But I'm glad to hear it was just an hour's sleep and not the deep sleep.
Just an hour's sleep. All the affairs were in order. I've put the link there of Arslan Magomedov against Fedor Papazov for the guys in the chat to have a look at it. The video is just slightly too long to cut, unfortunately. So I will try and get it for next week. But for tonight, I think it will just be a bit too long. And let's get stuck into the action straight away. Then Matchroom HQ Garden. Game changed, Aussie, as Kid Galahad wins by end of 11th round retirement over James Jazza Dickens. He is the IBF World Featherweight Champion. I was saying to Ames earlier, actually, boxing moves at a glacial pace sometimes, but sometimes life moves at you fast. You got Josh Warrington at ringside, long reigning IBF champion with nothing, and the man he's already beaten, Kid Galahad, standing in the ring with the IBF title. Isn't it a strange old sport?
It is, yeah. I thought Galahad was very, very impressive. I saw a headline, dominant victory, and I think it's the best way that sums it up. I think perhaps gave Dickens, one, maybe two of the early rounds, but aside from that, I thought Galahad was excellent. Boxed a brilliant fight, very well disciplined, and he beat Dickens up pretty systematically. Dickens looked, sore at the end of it and in a real bad way, bad cuts, bruises, face swollen. I thought Galahad's work to the body early on certainly paid off, and you felt Galahad actually had gears to go through, and he still didn't reach his peak. I know we've always said that, he's not in the best of fights, but I thought last night was pretty decent. We always refer back to the Warrington fight, which was awful. It was boring, but he boxed to a plan that would beat Warrington, and many argue that he did that night. But against Dickens, I thought, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a fight of the year, but I thought it was fairly decent for a world title. And I feel Galahad's going to be really difficult to beat. He can box. He's 31. He really lives the life. I think I saw a video. He was in the gym this morning. Most world champions, certainly nowhere near a gym the morning after they've won it. Never mind actually training. And he's going to be difficult to beat. Like I said, I assume he's associated with Matchroom, so he's got a bit of backing. I can't say I care for the Warrington rematch, and I don't think Galahad will be too interested in actually giving him that rematch as well. Given the circumstances that he was defeated in, it wouldn't shock me if he's got all eyes on Lee Wood, particularly if he's upgraded to the super champion. And I think that'd be just one-sided, to be honest, with Galahad. But he could well fancy himself as number one in the division, realistically. Because do we count Santa Cruz in that? Probably not. Lee Wood's ranked fourth. He beat the likes of Dogbo. I don't think that Mauricio Lara, who beat Warrington, would pose any problems. The only other one you've got is Emmanuel Navarrete, and that I think that'd be an excellent fight and one that they should be looking at, because why not? We don't want to see silly defences now from Galahad. He's bided his time. He's done it the hard way. Headlining Mick Hennessy shows in leisure centres up and down the country. He's not had it all his own way. He obviously had that. Thanks his brother for apparently spiking his drink, which got him a drugs ban. But he's come back. He's done it the right way. And he put in an excellent, excellent performance last night. And regardless of what you think of him, or if you don't enjoy his style, I don't see how you cannot give him credit on last night's performance.
What happened to playing a prank on your brother by slipping him a Viagra or something like that instead of putting their career at risk? It seems a little fucked up.
Yeah, fun and games in the Galahad household, but he has bounced back nonetheless. Ben Faruqi did send in a question regarding this, which I'll throw out shortly. Andrew Thickett says Galahad's footwork on the inside was exceptional last night. I wonder if he was slightly awed against Warrington and so lacked confidence in his own offensiveness during their fight. With Warrington's air of invincibility passing into abeyance, perhaps this will no longer be the case now. More importantly, the super chats are flying in, thanks to Kaiser Koba, who's dropped a cheeky tenner in. Broken ankle has left me housebound for the next few weeks, says Kaiser. Just wanted to thank the Asylum for consistently entertaining us every Sunday. You are very welcome, sir. Also, Mark Campbell has thrown in £20. No message from Mark, but the message is well and truly received, Mr. Campbell. Thank you very much indeed to you and to Kaiser Koba. Andy, I thought Kid Galahad was excellent. I know he's had these detractors in the past. We've all shit on him, haven't we? He's been boring, at times negative. I think his judgment of range and distance, his punch picking, especially to the body and to the face, as someone said in the chat earlier, Dickens looked like a firework had gone off in his face. I think everything from about the fourth round onwards was just on point. The judgment, the distance, the range was on point from Galahad.
Yeah, he began to slowly kind of pick him apart, didn't he? I mean, it was a wee bit kind of competitive early doors, a wee bit kind of scrappy with the feet, you know, getting tangled up. It's just one thing that kind of annoys me about Galahad. I think he walks the line a bit too much. You know, he obviously had the point deduction there last night as well. Steps on feet, he holds the head down and stuff, forearms, you know, time to time. But at the end of the day, he does enough. Walks the line and then he gets warned, gets a point off, tries and cuts away. But that aside, you know, as I say, he broke Dickens apart. You know, you can say, as I say, Dickens probably started the bright in that, but it says Galahad just gradually kind of came in here. I had it about, what was it? I forget what I had at the time of the stoppage, but I had Galahad well in front at that point, and glad to see it stop that, because it says it was kind of really Dickens was kind of starting to resemble Lebedev. A wee bit as well with that.
That's a good shout.
You know, so he's had a longish career in that as well. And that, you know, he's had, you know, some hard fights and stuff. So yeah, I've no dispute about the stoppage. And that I think it's fair enough. And that pull him out if he's wanting to fight on for another day. And that, so be it. It'll be tough pickings to try and get himself back into world level, I think. And as he says, everybody knows this and that as well. But you know, Galahad's going to be hard to beat. He was talking afterwards, and I think he's wanting Lee Wood possibly, if they get the belts fixed out of there. You can see the pressure starting on Santa Cruz, probably get stripped of that belt because he's never fought there for God knows how long. Yeah, so we'll wait and see. I think Galahad's kind of like at this point at least should be wanting unification fights. But the way Eddie's talking and that, he's wanting probably a homecoming in Sheffield by the sounds of it first, then look for unification fights early next year and that. So we'll wait and see. But Dickens, if he's want to continue, maybe come back down to European level for a wee bit, have a wee run there, see if he's, you know, if he get a couple of wins going, and then see how he feels from there on in. But Galahad last night was a level above Dickens, who probably fought the fight of his life there last night, but just wasn't enough, as I say, because Galahad just that level above him. So, you know, fair play to the kid.
Yeah, the WBA situation becomes ever more confusing. We don't know what's going on with Santa Cruz. The WBA will be happy to keep him along for the sanctioning fees as long as they can. Stretch that one out. Kanzu's been displaced now by Wood. Ramirez dropped the belt, of course. Michael Conlan picked that one up. The WBA is just an absolutely confusing entity within itself. We had a nice little comment coming in from Michael Thompson somewhere. Yeah, new fan of Galahad, Matty. He didn't even get out of second gear, really, and just broke him down. Remember the Galahad of old on the early Mick Hennessy cards on Channel 5? We knew he had this in him, and for all the detractors, he's a very hard fighter to beat, Kid Galahad.
Yeah, he's very skillful. But it was just for him. It was so easy yesterday. Dickens was just very predictable in what he was going to do. He was going to kind of come in and throw a shot and then put his head down. And so every time they'd walk in like that, Galahad would catch Dickens with a jab, either from the southpaw or orthodox, and then catch him with a short uppercut, and then a little shot to the body, turn the corner. Rinse and repeat. He did that for, 70% of the fight. At the end of the day, Dickens just made it far too easy for Galahad in there, and there just wasn't there was no wrinkles in his game because Galahad was able to just consistently do the same thing over and over again with success. And thankfully it got stopped when it got stopped, because Dickens was looking like freaking the hamburger in his face there, and it was not going well. I don't know how a Galahad Navarrete fight would work out. My hunch is that Galahad would beat Lee Wood, but I think Navarrete, his work rate could really give him fits. So that'd be a great fight if somehow they make that in the next 12 months. But unfortunately, that makes too much sense, so that probably won't happen.
Yeah, you got Gary Russell floated about Navarrete, who could be the best of the bunch. Joe Kennedy rightly saying IBF won't recognise regular title. We spoke about that last week regarding Kanzu and Warrington, so doubt Wood will happen. Kaiser Cobra says Rigo did Jazza in 2 rounds with 1 punch. Levels to this game. Just before we go on the levels of the undercard, let's see who's hanging around in the chat there. Shout out to Mr. Jones. Liam Wynn, darts legend Chris Mason's with us. Good to see you, Chris. Kaiser Cobra, Chris Butler, the Motor City Cobra. Jimmy Tappy, Simon Hill, MB, a lot of the usual faces and names. Joe Kennedy, Michael Thompson, Matthew D'Souza, Babatundi Kelly, Richard Wetton, Andrew Thickett, who's thrown in a few good comments already. M. Lithgow, 1983. Let's see if we can get some new names. Ricky Gravel, the depths of depravity in the chat there. Jim McDonald, Boxing, Take Ames. O is with us as well. Mark Campbell, shout out to the super chat. Des, good to see Des as always. Duke Dave, Kaiser Cobra, thanks to the super chat from him as well. Craig's with us too. A final couple before we go into the undercard. Charles Lintner, who left us a 5-star review this week. Sad Ken. Who else we got here knocking about? Jimmy Tappy, I think I said him as well. Josh Ford. A couple more. Woody Barlow, James Windsor. And finally, last but not least, who we got here? Marty Smith. Welcome to you, Marty. Onto the undercard then, Aussie. Game changed indeed. From Eduardo, Fabio Wardley getting a first-round knockout over Nick Webb. Bigger tits than Ebony Bridges. Ebony getting a knockout win as well against Beck Connolly on the undercard. Didn't see the Aqib Fiaz fight. I did see the Johnny Fisher fight. And I definitely saw Alan Banter Babbage on the undercard. What was the pick of it, Ozzy?
Look, some of it was entertaining, but just because it turns out entertaining doesn't mean it was a good undercard. And we've got to compare it to week 1 of Fight Camp, which was, overstacked, you can argue, and this week was certainly understacked because chief support was, it was a 1-round English title fight. Nick Webb started quite well, actually, landed some big shots on Wardley, and then it's like he just gassed, got caught, and just, crippled in a corner. No complaints. Thought the first time the stoppage could have been a tad early. Thought the referee, Kieran McCann, could have given, maybe a count to Webb. But there was no arguments whatsoever. So I don't want to, hear anything, after it. I should have had a count. Should have been given some time. Despite, how little time was left in the actual round itself. Going to be interesting to see where they match Wardley next because, look, he is English level. They've matched him quite well. But I think he's a long way off, the bigger names yet. I'd like to see the fight with Nathan Gorman for the, I think Joe Joyce. He is active, but in reality, is he going to defend that British title? Probably not. And if you can get Wardley Gorman for the British title, I think that's a great fight. Bridges, be essentially a journeywoman, so I'm not going to give her any credit. She's coming out saying, it was a big statement, but would we honestly give credit, to, a prospect banging out a journeyman? Not really. And I'm not going to give her any credit for this. They'll probably look to match her with Rachel Ball, when she's back fit, or the Shannon Courtney rematch. Didn't see Aqib Fiaz, but I believe it was quite close on the cards. A fair result, but close against Boulder Spino. Johnny Fisher banged out Danny Whitaker. Fisher should have been fighting Josh Sandland, and I was shocked when that was announced because I'd seen pictures of Sandland, and he was basically dropping to like light heavyweight. So I was shocked to see that he'd taken that fight, but clearly he's pulled out, decided to stay, at light heavy from heavyweight. And they brought Danny Whitaker in, and Fisher's raw, but he can clearly bang. And they'll take the time with him. They'll probably look at, a fight with Jay McFarlane coming up or something like that. They'll match him quite well. And then to finish on Banter Babbage, who he's entertaining. I think, you're just in denial if you don't find him entertaining. I'm not saying he's brilliant, because he's not. Let's have it right. They keep talking about how good he is, but look at the level he's operating at. Niall Kennedy, Tom Little, Damien Chambers, Mark Bennett. They're all realistically around, area English level. And that's what Babbage is at. Mark Bennett wasn't really hurt last night. He was just absolutely fucked because he weighed in at like 20 stone, just under. And Babbage, he throws loads of shots. He is entertaining, gets tagged as well. And, we got him. It was the correct decision to retire Bennett in the corner. It's going to be really interesting to see where they go next with Babbage, because he is limited. And I know what'll happen. He'll get to a stage from where someone who can actually bang and can punch him back will just be too much for him. And then he'll move down to either cruiserweight or bridgerweight, if bridgerweight ever really materialises. I wouldn't be. I was just saying then to Tom Craze, who put a post out, who would you match Babbage with next? I wouldn't be shocked if they look at somebody like an Alexander Ustinov, or they get Lucas Brown over, and he can get the scalp of a former world champion on his record. I mean, many people won't have seen the fight against Paul Gallen when Brown got banged out in a round, and he has only lost 3 times. So it's quite an appealing record, 20-3. But, when they talk about fighting Filip Hrgović, that's a long, long way away, because, Babbage is entertaining, but he's extremely limited. But there's nothing wrong with that. He is what he is. People clearly like him. And he's never in a boring fight, because either eventually he's going to get knocked out, or he knocks out his opponents, regardless of what level, the lower level he's operating at the moment.
That fight was so fun, though. It was so fun. I mean, but it was wrong.
Exactly.
It was wrong for Fight Camp, though. Like, it seemed more like 2 people fighting for a donut at Fat Camp.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It is what, it was entertaining. It wasn't of any real quality, but it was entertaining. And like I said, you can't dislike Babbage, because he is an entertaining fighter. Like I said, he's limited somewhat, but he's never boring, is he? And you know what you're going to get from him, like always some, loud shouting. He wears these masks at weigh-ins, and like I said, he just comes out, and from literally as the bell ring, they just laid into each other, completely laid into each other. And like I said, if Bennett could have weathered the storm and didn't completely gas, it would have been interesting. Clearly didn't have the power to hurt Babbage as well, because he did land some big shots. Odd time Babbage was caught, but he didn't have the real, decisive power to make a real dent in him. But yeah, like you said, Matt, it was funny. It was entertaining. Like I said, people are in denial if they don't find Babbage entertaining, but he is extremely limited.
Yeah, we'll completely agree with all of that. Dominic Henry's thrown in a $5 on the super chat. He says, Steve Wellings, Jaya Mama Jaya. Thank you very much, Dominic. Much appreciated. Look who's back on for another week. He's enjoying his little taste of the asylum last weekend, and he's back on in full Technicolor. It's only Adam Smido Smith. How are you, Smid?
Yeah, I think I might manage 5 minutes this week. I did 3 minutes last week. So, yeah, we'll see how we go. Pound a minute on courtesy of Dominic Henry. I'm on £1 a minute.
Well, by the time they took their cut, you'd be on about 26p a minute, I think, Smido. What you got for us this week? Come on.
Just on the back of what Ozzy was saying, really. I mean, Alan Babbage, what they've done is they've got rid of Dave Allen, or Dave Allen's got rid of himself, and they've replaced him with a Croatian Dave Allen called Alan Babbage. I mean, it's just cheap entertainment, isn't it? He's telling us that the game's changed, but yet, Dave Allen, Alan Babbage is going to be on pittance, really, in comparison. Ebony Bridges fits the bill, similar, cheap entertainment or cheap lingerie, whatever you want to call it. Babbage is WWF style, proposing to 22-year-olds, even though he's about 35 after the fight. I mean, and like you say, it was just like there was both gassed. I turned it on in the 3rd round, and the opponent was gassed, and Babbage was pretty much nearly gassed after 9 minutes of entertainment. It was just like 2 fat idiots on the cobbles just throwing bombs at each other. I mean, there's a picture going around today of Babbage, and he's jabbing and basically looking the other way like that, like not even looking at his opponent. He's so limited, it's untrue. I just don't know. It's just, sometimes you need a bit of a realization moment. And last night it came for me. It's just like WWF, really. It's just like WWF. They've had the 4 individuals that have participated in main events on Fight Camp, and this is the game-changed Fight Camp, remember. Matchroom, no matter what the contract actually says, they've never actually promoted any of those 4 people. They've never promoted Lee Wood and took him to Nottingham, and they've never promoted Kid Galahad and got him on Soccer AM and had him down at, Sheffield Arena topping the bill. He went on. They've been on away shows, Golden Contract. Galahad fought Warrington on BT. Kanzu's obviously Chinese. They've never promoted him, and Jazza Dickens. He's won the Golden Contract tournament. Never really promoted any of those guys. Like a Conor Benn, I know he was meant to be on. But how many? They've just got their stables that big now. How many people have they got left? They've had world champions that they've not actually actively promoted. Callum Smith fits the bill. Don't know where he's gone now. He's in the wilderness. He seems to have so many eggs in the baskets of a Mr. Canelo and a Mr. Joshua that, as I've said for some time, everything else kind of gets forgotten. But I'm quite interested in Wardley. I think he's likable. Limited again, but not everyone's going to be a world champion. But I think he's likable, and you can buy into the story. And he's talks an half decent game, pretty young, come from that white collar background. And you can see him stepping up in the levels. Nick Webb was a step up in his career. I think he's only had about 12 fights, so he's half interesting. But Galahad, that's definitely the best I've ever seen him, and probably everyone else. I thought the output was excellent. I mean, obviously wasn't massive power behind all 1,100 punches he thrown, but the output was excellent. Switch hitting, picking the body, just peppered him all night. And his face told a story, and it probably came a round or two too late. But Tony Bellew told us, unbiased on the analysis last night, given that he's the manager of Jazza Dickens, said that if he stuck to the game plan, he would win. That went well.
Just before we move on then, Smido, do you think the time is right and primed for a Dave Allen comeback, do you think, in the banter environment?
I think the comeback's already happened, Steve, on the... is he not with Big Dennis in I
know, but on Eddie's shows, not these car parks, Smid.
I do think that Eddie has somewhat distanced himself from Dave Allen. It's tough to go, but on a serious note, it is tough to go back to someone that has said, in regards to trying to look after their physical health and their mental health on a serious note, and Eddie to make statements like, we're giving him time, I think he should retire, etc., etc. To U-turn on that would be a bit of a come down even for this car salesman.
Andy, I'm keen to get your view on Alan.
Like a car salesman.
Ooh. Well, he could be selling cars in the car park. If Dennis gets Fight Zone back on, Matty, you never know.
Well, there's a pitch in Sheffield that used to do $3,000 a week that is available. So Dave Allen might be able to take that pitch.
There you are, Dave could indeed take that pitch. On to Alan Babbage, Andy. Mark Bennett doing his bit for CTE. What is it with these opponents they're putting Babbage in with? Made to order, Winters, Kennedy, Little, Chambers, Bennett. Fat guys with short notice, basically, who have about 2 or 3 rounds in them and then end up getting knocked out. Not blaming Eddie for this, but what's the deal here? What they're doing with this Babbage character?
It's obviously he's got, the guys are saying, but a kind of cartoon character about him. He's happy to kind of put himself out there. Doesn't say act the clown in that, but he's happy to kind of, like, as you say, play that Dave Allen role and that, be this guy who's going to go in there, be the banger, just go to war basically. As he says, he's either going to get knocked out or he's knocking out his opponent one way or the other. And obviously the bit at the end in that, people love all that stuff and that, don't they, especially the women. So it's fair to say that as well. There's a good chance Mrs. Babbage to be got scuttled like the German fleet in Scapa Flow there last night, I would imagine. So good luck to them, shall we say. That's all I'm going to say to him. Marriage isn't easy, Steve, as you know.
Oh, God,
15 years for me, so that's not 15 years, close to it anyway. But he doesn't keep me. That's going to be that's going to be his hardest fight. Never mind Bridgerweight and heavyweight and that, or Mark Bennett's your world and that. The wife's going to be his hardest fight for and
Mark, bad news, Bennett. Bad news for Babbage. Matty, final word to you on the undercard. Anything that took your fancy? Are you watching this on the zone stateside, I take it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it enough for a Saturday afternoon card. I didn't think that I saw anybody on that card that I was super impressed with, other than the main event. But it was entertaining enough. I had a good time. I mean, it's not prime time entertainment for me. It's with their deal for $100 a year, it's basically like, $8 a month for me. And it's afternoon entertainment. So for me, that's great bang for your buck. I just enjoyed, I liked the card from top to bottom, but nothing really stood out to me. Well, other than, Ebony Bridges, but she always stands out in that way.
Would you like to be hobnobbing in Eddie's backyard, paying £6 for a slice of pizza, Matty?
I think that the pizza should come with the cost of a ticket, Steve. If you're charging £600-800 for
800 quid, Matthew, 800 quid,
you're charging that much. They should come with a personal pan pizza, Steve. That's my stance.
No. Hey mate, I don't know if you heard it last week, but it was £7 a slice. I think it was last week, £6 a slice, and it was all burnt and crispy and that. I mean, you could probably put nails in the wall with this slice of pizza, man.
What the fuck is this? Woodstock 99? That's bullshit.
Woodstock 99. What about Asylum 435? The boys are enjoying themselves in the chat already. Matty's here with us, Andy, Ozzy, and Adam Smido Smith. Let's move on then pretty swiftly on to, where should we go next, Andy? I tell you what, you reminded me about this card just before we started. Let's sneak it in, shall we? Triller, Michael Hunter against Mike White Delight Wilson. Wilson looked like he'd been involved in a high-speed accident with a truck at the end. He was absolutely battered to shit. Chris Algeria as well. That's 10 rounds of my life against Mikel Lepierre that I am never going to get back. Joe Ward as well. And about 4 hours worth of rapping was going on, Andy. What the hell? Why is Triller still a thing?
You know what, I did actually. I was expecting the heavyweight fight to be the main event, so I'm expecting it to be kind of like towards the end of that video link. Right, I brought up 6.5 hours long. I'm like, okay, what's this fight going to be about? So I fast forward like a good 4.5 hours, expecting it to be toward the end. The fucking rap show was at the end for 3 hours. I'm like, nah. So I had to double back, found it. Then here we get Mike White Delight, right? Who had obviously been training like the old days and that with a kind of vest top on, because he had like a tan arms, tan over like kind of like parts of his body and then pure white over it. It was just an absolute
He'd
mess.
been wearing a wife beater vest, hadn't he, Andy? I think.
Perhaps he Nisbet vest, possibly.
I totally forgot about this fight. I'm sad I didn't catch it. I forgot.
You missed nothing, mate. You missed nothing. As Steve says, he got battered like a red-headed stepchild, by the way, right?
Some quality black on white violence.
Oh yeah,
right on.
That's what you want. But see the end of round 3 and that, he's walking back to the corner, man, and he looked like a guy who had drunk 20 pints of lager and he's looking at the road home. He's like, that's a long way to go. Oh, great. And then he got absolutely, you say, mate, smashed up. I think his nose was maybe broken in that as well in round 4 and that, and got counted.
His lip looked like it was all lacerated and everything.
Yeah, bad mess. Like, so that's 2 of the top 15 guys. That's Coffee last week and White Delight there on, what was it, Monday, Tuesday? Getting iced. So the WBA are taking calls for the next 2 to take up the 15 rankings. So get your brown envelopes ready, because you've only got until October, like, because all the belts are getting stripped again.
White Delight against Babbage. White Delight against Babbage.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Oh, yeah, I suppose I'll take Babbage in that one. Like,
oh dear, did you actually watch this, Matty? I still cannot believe Triller is actually a thing, man.
I fucking forgot it was on, and there's a Fight TV app for Roku, so I'll get that on there when they have the free fights. But I totally fucking forgot about this. I remember reading about the result, but God, I totally forgot to ever go watch it. Son of a bitch.
There you go. You can catch up on this one at your own leisure. Eric Walker losing a 10-round decision as well to Ivan Golub. I didn't actually see that one. Delighted to have, though, on the panel with us now. Rapid Rob Kelly flying in at 8:30. How are you this evening, Rob?
Yeah, I'm ropey enough now, to be honest with you.
Listen to him.
He made it, though. He made it.
I just about made it. I tell you, I just about made it. I ended up taking a knee on the Stag and no mass by about 10:30 after an all-day session. Well, the pubs closed at 11:30, in fairness. Like, so I only missed an hour with COVID, but it felt like a lot longer. I trained very hard for the occasion. did the weight right.
He filled up to live up to expectation, though. That's what happened.
Yeah, just some. I don't know whether it was a nervous energy thing, like big pricey when I was out in front of the big crowd or something. I just seemed to fucking swallow it there in the middle rounds, and there was no coming back. Someone gave me a single malt whiskey at about 6 o'clock in the evening. That was like 12 years old or something. But I just he handed it to me like, and I thought we were doing shots, and I just got it and fucking threw it back like, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? You got to sip that. You can't fucking. And I was yeah. It wasn't great for Rob Kell last night, to be honest with you. There was a bit of bit of vomit and all that. Like it wasn't tremendous. Yeah. So I went out in style. The Last Dance went out in fucking all guns blazing.
Michael Jordan would have swallowed it like that, though. He would have swallowed it at 10:30, and he'd have kept going.
What time did you start?
Like 2 in the afternoon or something. I fucking.
So you went 8. You went 8.
Yeah. I went to. I thought I'd get to fucking hear the fucking judges' scorecards. It just wasn't to be. But I saved myself for another day. So let's not judge all fighters that quit. Taking me.
Rob, you sound like somebody that went 6 hours of Triller. You sound like someone who went through the full 6 hours of a Triller card.
Well, let me tell you something. I definitely went through fucking 2 hours of it, but none of it had to do with the fights that were on it. It was an epic event in Madison Square Garden between the Locks and the Dipset, and my boys, the Locks, ended up with a fucking landslide victory, so that was great. And Joe Ward was fighting, so there was always that as well. That was good. But I haven't seen. I don't know how useful I'm going to be to the panel. I pulled a Chuckoo on Friday night for the Belfast card, and I pulled a fucking who would you say Sergei Kovalev last night.
Or so, slap the wife.
No, that's it. Well, it's early doors, by the way.
No Kid Galahad action then, Rob. No.
No, surprise! It didn't stop the fucking stag night to see Kid Galahad. Did he win? Did he beat Jazza Dickens?
Yes, he did. Retirement after the 11th.
Poor Jazza. Well, what a time to be alive. I'm sure all the Kid Galahad fans are going to be very happy about that. Maybe they get together for a little coffee or something during the week. I don't know who the fuck. I don't know, Steve. I'm teetering on the edge tonight. I might have to take a knee again tonight before Belly of the Week. Who knows? Like, it depends how where this goes.
It's just a shame that the same thing that does Priest in did you in there, Rob. Rob swallowing a 12-year-old.
Jesus Christ.
Rob, just go and bang some snuff, and that'll get you going again, mate. Back in the game, and then just get a couple of beers and stuff.
I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Rob, I feel like I'm bothering you or something.
I feel like you're helping me in a lot of ways, Steve.
Stick with us as long as you can, sir. Please do.
I'll try my best.
Rapping Rob Kelly. Always good to have him on the panel. Ozzy, feel free to pass if you wish. Any Triller action from you?
No. But I did see the Hunter thing, but there's literally nothing else to say, is there? How this was even... I think it was an eliminator, wasn't it, or something like that, for the WBA title. I'm sure it was mentioned.
It is.
I don't know how. How are the WBA ranking this guy? It's a fucking joke.
How long you got? Mate? You had last night, for example. That's what I was saying, right? I was looking through next week's schedule, right? There is a ton of WBA baubles on the line, right? And I just happened to think back on that. So there's been numerous WBA belts on the line over the last couple of months and that. Now we've got the head honcho saying, I'm going to cut the belts back in October. So is he trying to get them all belted up at once and then start stripping people in October and that?
Tournament!
We're going to get to a point, though, where there's going to be more WBA title fights than not.
They're creating another interim belt holder at bantamweight next week.
There's more WBA titles than there are COVID deaths in the United States.
Oh, ridiculous, man. So, a bit of white delight, Ozzy, and nothing else for you?
No, mate, no.
Okie dokie, then we shall stumble on to the next thing of the evening. Let's go to Michael Conlan against TJ Dehaney. Andy, I'm not quite sure how much of this you saw. Conlan getting the win, 116-111, twice from Steve Gray and Ian John Lewis. and a 119-108 from Victor Lachlan. Dehaney down in the 5th round from a body shot. Showed some balls to come back from that. I thought the writing might have been on the wall. Had a good 11th round as well. Some people say you've seen one Mick Conlan fight, you've seen them all. I want to see him move up in levels now. This was a nice little gate. I don't disparage Dehaney by necessarily calling him a gatekeeper. He's a former world champion who's fought in a unification fight, but this was a nice step for Conlan. Let's see him in with the big boys now, Andy.
True, but obviously we've got to address the shenanigans, pre-fighting that with the weight, the belt, so a bit unfair on Dehaney and all that sort of thing in that as well. And we said it last week, we expected Conlan to win on points. Dehaney's possibly at this ball showing off that at least that he's seen better days. Did have to, as you say, had to dig in there after the body shots. I did think he was ready to go. He toughed out, he saw it out and that, but it is time for Conlan to step up. I just don't know where though. Is he? He's not got the power, right? So really, I think the 122 situation. That option is probably gone at this point unless a world title fight's next. I think the longer he goes with that world title fight, 122 is just not going to happen. I don't think. It just doesn't bode well for him, I don't think. 126 might be slightly better. He's got the extra poundage. Don't want to dehydrate too much. I don't know who would kind of line up at this point. Who's the belt holder up at 126 again? Try and remind me. I know Fulton's 122. Who's 26?
So we've got Lee Wood floating about, and we go Russell's WBC. Conlan picked up the interim that Ramirez dropped, didn't he, up at featherweight, which further mothers the water about whether he's going to fight Fulton down at super bantamweight. So we do have kind of weight issues floating in the background here.
So you've got basically 4 belt holders there at 126.
Navarrete as well.
Navarrete. All right, so he'll be the BO belt hold. I don't know, mate. I mean, obviously, you like Lee Wood possibly. I'd like to possibly see that one. But I could probably see them kind of go doing that. If you could do, I just pulled up the 126 rankings of WBA, right? So you've got guys like Mariaga, for example. He'll be past his prime at this point. He's been in tough.
Don't forget about King Tug, man. I mean, he's wandering around there, and he's given a decent account of himself at weights higher than he should be at, and he fought up with Russell, better than most.
Yeah. Is Tug not up at super feather though?
That was a one-off.
It was a one-off.
Because he was a late replacement, and he was trained, so he was already close to the weight.
Good Dogbo. I know that's possibly easier than one to make. I don't know if he's still with Top Rank.
Pygmy.
Eh?
He's a pygmy.
Yeah, I suppose that. But at the end of the day, it's a title defence for him. And it's a cheap option. Other than that, you've got Anselmo Moreno, who must be in his 40s at this point. And that he was bantamweight king.
Moreno's fighting again?
He's ranked 2 at 126.
You're fucking with me.
No. Huh. So, look. I just want to see him, as you say, Stephen, a meaningful fight, a world title fight of some sort or some description next would be ideal. Or I don't know if he challenges maybe the Warrington Lara winner, possibly. I don't know if that's even an option at this point, to be honest with you. Joe Gonzalez, there's a wee name there, maybe you can kind of throw it there. And you got that Japanese guy, I forget his name. Top Rank had him for a while. He was an ex-Olympian who got stopped on one of the ESPN cards by an upset. I think it'd been the guy that beat the boy in Australia, actually. Either way, I'm going off on tangents here and that, mate. But step it up in class and that, but I think we'll probably be kind of looking at maybe at a domestic level kind of opponent. So you're talking like maybe a Galahad type fighter, maybe Jordan Gill. I don't know, mate. I really don't know.
It seems to me, Ozzy, like the weight thing is the main kind of issue here. If he's going to be campaigning at featherweight, you could see him having another fight or two, or maybe that Bridger fight between what he's at now and World Championship before the world title. But if he's going to be genuinely campaigning down at super bantamweight, he's the contender for Fulton, who has to get past Figueroa first, which is no easy feat in my opinion. It kind of has to be now, given the weight situation. It feels like he's on borrowed time at 122, if indeed he can make it at all, Oz.
Well, it's interesting that the fight should have been at 122, and then they decided, like fight week, which I thought was pretty poor, actually, that not only will they, they'll bump it up to featherweight, but they obviously get this bauble belt on the line. Dehaney didn't even know about it. I thought he was treated really poorly throughout fight week from what he was saying. He didn't even know if it was going ahead. I think the reason they've got this on the line is because Lee Wood beat Kanzu. I think if Kanzu had beaten Wood, I don't think there'd have been as vetted interest at featherweight, because I think that'd have been a really difficult fight for Conlan. Whereas I think they fancied the chances against Wood. Now, look, they're interim champion. Wood is just a regular champion. There's no reason why that fight won't happen next, because we already know no WBO, WBC, IBF are not going to recognise Lee Wood for a unification. So in reality, what's the point in, like Galahad, Navarrete? They're not going to fight him because, there's no value. I know he holds this belt, but let's have it right. There's no real value. Whereas Conlan, if he can pick that up, Conlan's a name, like what did he do, 8,000, in Ireland, massive atmosphere, got the potential to go to America as well. I think they managed to sway this belt on the line, because if a world title opportunity somehow crops up, Super Bantam, he'll go for that. Otherwise, I think they'll look to fight Lee Wood next for this particular reason. Otherwise, what would be the point? If he's no interest in campaigning at featherweight, why get this title on the line? If he's adamant of going down to Super Bantam, I think the weight's too much. They said that he apparently missed the agreed weight, what they were going to come in at for this as well. So I think there's also, he's not, he didn't come in, out of shape either. I just wonder if, if Super Bantam is just too much for him. I know he made it, earlier this year against that Balotniks, and it wasn't easy for him. I know, he won, but he didn't win well. It wasn't one-sided. I just wonder if it takes too much out of him. And after taking it once, I think that was the first time in his career he actually made it, he's gone straight back up in weight again. And as I say, I think it all boils down to that Lee Wood win, and that's who they'll look to fight next, because then they're a regular champion, and then they'll go all out, and it'd be typical, won't it? Conlan beats Wood, and then both Santa Cruz jacks it, and he's upgraded to, super champ, and they've got, a manufactured world champion, because I genuinely don't believe Conlan is good enough for me either at Super Bantam or at featherweight to win a world title. I just don't think he's got the punch power. He's skilled, yes, but I always say, you get to a certain level, you need to be able to dig, and he's just not got that for me. So that's the way I see him going. Otherwise, look, if they can't get that Wood fight next, and he is going to stay at featherweight, I don't know who they'll look at. Will they look at maybe will they stick domestic, because I know it's not easy, going into other countries, and they play it safe. Will they look at potentially a Gavin McDonnell, someone is quite well known, he should be beating as well. Dare I say Kiko Martinez, bring him down to feather. Someone like that. It's good, interesting, really interesting. But I think personally, the Lee Wood fight is what they'll go for now.
I think Ozzy might be right there, Rob. Conlan obviously has options, but
sorry, what? No, I'm joking.
Sitting pretty at number one though with the WBO, it's a nice position to have, but it kind of feel like the boiling down in weight, plus the fact that you've got to fight Fulton or Figueroa, which is a feat in itself, plus the fact they're both with the PBC, just seems like he's got obstacles at every turn at the moment.
I just thought he looked dead at the way. I think Ozzy's onto something, and Andy as well. Like, I thought he looked dead at the way that the interviews beforehand, Mick. I didn't think he looked good at it, and it's obviously he doesn't balloon up in between fights. He's not a big guy by any stretch, and he doesn't kind of walk around too much heavier than his fight weight. So obviously he's outgrown the weight. I think that's plain to see. So really, it's risk versus reward, isn't it? So I'd say, yeah, the Lee Wood fight's a good shout. Probably easier to make, have it in England or Ireland. Struggling here and flagging. But yeah, no, I think, and shout out to Doheny as well, by the way. Gallant performance from him.
Yeah.
Tough guy, and he's actually big mates with a lot of my. I only found this out yesterday. He's big mates with a lot of my mates from Wexford that are over in Australia, and they used to drink with him all the time. He actually turned pro when one of the Irish bars over there sponsored him. That's how he got his pro career off the ground. He jacked in the buildings and went full time at it then. So good on him for what he's achieved. Mick Conlan versus Lee Wood. It's a fight 2 weeks ago I probably wouldn't give a shit about, but now. That's makings of a great fight, depending on where it is. So I'll be all for that, man. Be all for that. Nice little kind of domestic one as well for us to sink our teeth into. So yeah, definitely make that one next.
And Mick Conlan, Matty has a lot going for him. He's obviously got good judgment of range, good switch hitter, lacks the power, but he's a very good boxer, can obviously pack out an arena as well. And as Rob says there, Matty, shout out to TJ Dehaney. He had all the odds stacked against him. He's really made the most of a career that he had no right doing anything with. I think he's had a really good career, handled himself with class during the week. So pat on the back, pat on the bald head for TJ Dehaney from me.
He's a guy who definitely works, and one of those guys that's more than the sum of his parts. And it might be less than Mick Conlan, but it's still incredible what he was able to do, especially at 122. That fight with Roman was an exceptional battle. I really enjoyed, and that's definitely going to be like kind of one of those underground classics for years. For me, though, when I'm looking at Conlan, what I see is somebody that as soon as someone is able to basically outman him, he's in trouble because he's very stuck in his amateur style at times. And I don't know if things would have been a little different if Dehaney had started earlier. It's like he didn't realize he was in a fight until he got knocked down. And after that, it was a completely different match, far more entertaining, way more punches thrown. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes against somebody that his jabs and his little pity pats don't really bother at all. They walk through them, and who is going to be his Orlando Salido, basically, because it'll happen sooner rather than later.
Smido, I know you didn't manage to catch this one, but any views from you on the upside or downside of Michael Conlan before we move on? Adam? Look like Smido is still with us. Can't see him, can't hear him. Can't lip read from Smido. Oh, there you are, sir. Go on, Smid.
Yeah, Michael Conlan, absolutely no interest. Never even watched him fight before, so yeah, no interest. Sorry, thanks.
Oh, burn.
Good stuff from Smid there. Andy, undercard, Lee McGregor against Vincent Legrand, 32-0. He had a few issues early on, got dropped, but once he hit the body, got the job done. Anything to be concerned about, or was it just maybe a case of slight complacency?
Maybe slightly over-eager. I actually forgot how big Legrand was, actually. It's been years since I've seen him fight at flyweight. But I still expected McGregor to do the business early, and it looked like he was actually going to have a lot of problems early doors because there was, for me at least, he was certainly struggling. He was getting turned, he was getting out punched, out jabbed, and then they got dropped. Obviously, probably kind of square his feet up a wee bit. Possibly, he didn't look hurt anyway. But as soon as he started kind of, especially when he got inside, at least he started kind of like getting the body shots home. It was pretty savage, wasn't it? I'm not too sure about the stoppage, actually, to be honest with you. I haven't went back to kind of watch it again. Didn't seem to be any complaints for the French corner, at least anyway. So I don't know whether I can read into that too much or not. So we'll move on for that one. I think at least McGregor was basically on his way anyway to kind of win that fight, but certainly it looked like he was having some problems early doors. He's promised Farouk the rematch next. I had a look at that opponent that Farouk's fighting next week. I think it is on Fight Camp. Mexican guy. The opponent doesn't seem to be the guys that he's fought at least doesn't seem to be too much on paper, but you just don't know with these Mexicans, mate. When you go,
I don't see how that fight can happen because they've been put on the red list today. So unless they were, unless he was flown somewhere else, yeah. So it curtails any Mexican opponents coming into the country unless they can somehow do 2 weeks elsewhere. But when
maybe
it was found out,
that's racist.
Maybe he's already here, no?
No, Hearn said basically they didn't expect it, didn't foresee it, and moving forward, they're just basically going to fly him from Mexico to Spain, do 2 weeks in Spain, and then they can do Spain to the UK, no quarantine. But when they're on the red list, they've got to go and do, I think it's 10 days in a hotel. So I'm not sure if that fight will still go ahead now.
That's poor because, Cash has been waiting for an opponent, like you say, as far as we're aware, those fights were arranged 10, 14 days ago. And here we are.
I think so.
It may look like it's going to be a last minute replacement for Cash, and to me at least, that guy's been put on the shelf for far too long. While McGregor's getting decent defences, decent fights under his belt and that, and he's the one that's going to be, as I say as well, you know, he's doing the weight properly and doing that as well. And it's looking a different fight altogether now, that one.
I mean, one standout name on his record, Andy, is he lost an 8-rounder to Rosendo Hugo Guanaros, who some people will know because he claimed the undefeated record of Dennis Hobson's Tommy Frank and then beat Tommy Frank in the rematch as well. But he also lost to Sonny Edwards, this Guanaros. So who knows what this guy's going to be like. I would say he doesn't strike me as the, you know, one of the Mexicans that could spring an upset. But 18 KOs out of 28, just 2 defeats, you know, has beaten, you know, British fighters as well, and recently. So I'd like to think Farouk has got far too much. If the fight goes ahead, like I said, it's got to be something they've got to consider now. And unless they were able to fly him out to another country straight away, I'm not sure whether he'll be, you know, this will be going ahead or not. I don't know. Which will be a big blow because, as you said, Farouk has just been, you know, he's just had nothing, has he? Fought once in 2020. He did fight earlier this year. But, you know, for a guy who, you know, many of us felt he beat Lee McGregor and well.
And he was so active
crazy,
before
you know,
that, Ozzy. Do you remember? He was defending those British titles all the time.
Signed by Eddie. That's what's happened, though.
Correct. You're right, Andy. You're right. He signed with her and was just, you know, just stuck to the back of the shelf. It was crazy. You know, because, like I said, coming off the McGregor, even though he got beat off McGregor, more people were talking about how good Farouk was in that fight and he deserved to win and they could have really kicked on. Instead, you know, basically he fought 12 months after he got beat by Lee McGregor. And in that time, McGregor he beat like Ryan Walker and then he beat Guerfi and then he's boxed again. And then if he's going to go into that Farouk fight, you'd probably favour McGregor just on purely on the fact how active he's been, particularly if this fight, you know, is just a tick over 6-8 rounder against an absolute no mark who Farouk could blast out in a couple of rounds.
Plus, you've also got to factor in the Ben Davison experience. You know, Cash has got to overcome that.
Yeah, it's a shame what's happened to Cash. He's just been left to slide, really. After that McGregor fight, they could have really, cashed in, for want of a better pun, and said, you know, he didn't get the result, but we can work with him and do things with him. But, I mean, it's churn with Hearn rather than earn with Hearn. And it's to Eddie's detriment, Andy, as well. He could have a little mini star in his hands there. He could have really cashed in. He's just let him completely drift. I think it's real detrimental, and it's a disgrace what they've done to his career so far.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. It's a disgrace because, you know, when, you know, Cash won the British title outright. Done it on BBC Scotland channel. His manager, or his promoter at the time, got him these fights free of charge on free to view television. You know, so you know we kind of got a good chance to see him early doors. I think the guys like, for example, can't remember if the Ian Butcher fight was on there, but definitely the Kyle Williams fight was definitely on there. So it's just a bloody shame, and that's it. I had him winning the fight against McGregor 115-113. Close fight. I just thought Cash was a wee bit more busy, a wee bit more active. And then after that fight, he signed with Eddie. And then I think when did COVID hit? March 2020. So he lost an entire year just about. Had one fight since then, or 2 fights since then. It's just been totally forgotten about. And the thing is, this is what I hate about him as well. Eddie takes these Scottish guys that he signed. He did it with Burns. He's doing it with Cash. Takes them down to England. What is the point? You know, Cash isn't a ticket seller down in England.
Keeping them from getting stabbed.
Well, that's not the point, though, mate. You know, you need to have these guys fighting locally, and that's what happened. Cash was fighting in Glasgow. He won the British title, or sorry, he did it at the Sporting Club in Glasgow. He won the vacant belt, the Scottish area belt, obviously, what he won in Scotland. You know, he defended the British title in Scotland. He had a unification fight with Lee McGregor in Scotland. Signs with Eddie. Eddie gets him 2 bums and takes him down to bloody England. It's fucking nonsense.
It is odd, like I said, considering, you know, he was, you know, fighting across Scotland, you know, defending his British title, free to wear, big fight against McGregor. You could have easily, and there's always been for me a reluctance of Hearn to go back to Scotland unless he had, you know, Ricky Burns headlining. I mean, Burns was boxing in England all the time, and it was rare that he I think it was after the Zlatikanin fight. He only went back for the Rocco fight, I think. I can't remember where they did the Indongo.
I remember after the Beltran fight, they were like, "Oh, we're going to move him out of here because it's like too much pressure." And then he did come back, as you say. I forget when there's a Crawford fight after Beltran, Steve. I think. And as you say, after that,
it would have been because that's when he lost the title, wasn't it?
Aye.
Yeah.
And then obviously he fought Relic, and then he fought Ndongo and Darocco and Scotland. And the rest of the fights, as you say, after that have been in Manchester, Newcastle, London.
Yeah, exactly. And it's odd that, Farouk, what was a big name, in his own country, was doing decent tickets. Not obviously a massive ticket seller, but, you can put cards around these sort of fighters. And it would have been great, like they were. He's kept Lewis Ritson in Newcastle because Ritson sells it. Instead, it's not as if, he's kept Farouk active, and got him like 4 or 5 fights and he's moving him around, to get him exposure, keep him active. He's done the complete opposite. And it's crazy. I mean, and where are they going to go now they're not going to put McGregor Farouk, in fucking Cardiff or London, are they? They're going to go back to Scotland. But I think then it won't be as easy a sell because, Farouk he's completely anonymous to it now.
Yeah,
people would have forgotten about him. Let's have it right. Those people who were watching him, obviously not weekly, but, fairly active, probably once every 3 or 4 months.
Lost the momentum now, yeah.
Massively, absolutely.
The first fight wasn't sold out either, mate. The first fight wasn't sold out either.
Yeah, I remember they tried to say it was sold out, but I think you were there and it wasn't sold out. And it'll take, something, it'd be impressive. And like I said, I know McGregor's promised this rematch, but this is the sport of boxing, and promises are worth absolutely fuck all, even when they're locked into a contract as well. Until they're both in the ring, it's going to happen. But it's a logical fight, and let's see what he says. Next week. Hearn, the promoter, he talks about this big money. McGregor is only attached to MTK. He's not really got a big promoter. In terms of like, I mean, fucking Michael Conlan apparently promoted the show at the week. Well, Jamie Conlan did as Conlan Boxing. So he's not really, there's nothing stepping in the way of it. So let's see where it goes. I would suspect it'll wind up on, I don't think it'll headline. It should do, and it'd be a brilliant, brilliant Saturday night fight night. But let's see where it lands up. But I think, Farouk, it's always talking about, people love to say Hearn with Hearn, and, he always does the best for his fighters. But in this instance, I think he's been awful, absolutely awful for him. And, I'm not saying, he should have. Exactly, he's done absolutely fuck all. I'm not saying, he should have gone to, like Warren or, Mick Hennessy or something like that. But Warren or Hennessy would actually put him in his hometown, considering the momentum he had. I mean, fucking Hennessy's got, I know he's got Eggington. Now he's signed Eggington. He's fighting in Coventry. So rather than, going to Birmingham and, in a big arena, smaller arena, but it's in his area, it's in a catchment area. So rather than that, I mean, like they're getting Heaney in Birmingham because it's, it's close to Stoke, that sort of stuff. There's just no logic what he's done with Cash Farouk at all. And Farouk was seasoned when he got it. And, he just fought for a fucking European title. Fuck me. Like ready-made fighter. And I won't say he's regressed because that's a dig at Farouk, but his momentum certainly has. And, it's at a snail's pace now. And in reality, would I care if I missed his fight next week? No. If you'd have asked me that when he did beat, in my opinion, beat Lee McGregor, would I be tuning into his next fight? Absolutely.
This is Eddie Taylor. Just as far back as April, they're saying that Cash Farouk is one of the brightest young stars in world boxing. That was his quote, right? If he's one of the brightest young stars, why is he not getting like centrepiece? He's getting fucking punted down undercards.
You'd be better off with Mick, Andy. You'd be better off with Mick, I think, on Channel 5,
Do you think maybe he's getting a chunk out of each piece of pizza sold from Eddie's backyard?
He needs to be with MTK. It's that simple. Whether that kind of shuts doors from the sky, I don't know. But MTK would be his bet, and you can guarantee he wouldn't be sitting on the fence fighting. I don't want to call him trash because you just say you're going to get these Mexicans sometimes and that. But you would think MTK would have them in some sort of kind of title fight, some repute.
You think the
Think
NCK
is
might
though,
know some good Mexicans?
The thing is though, Andy, you say like, trash and we don't know what to expect, with these Mexicans, but let's have it right. They are shit opponents. I will not give, Farouk any credit if he bangs out Luis Castillo next week in a couple of rounds, because, what does he achieve from it? Yeah, he's got one of these, like a bauble ranking belt on the line, but you could get anybody for that. That is, Luis Castillo's name has not meant there's a big title on the line. So in reality, it is a shite opponent. It's pointless. And, there's domestic fighters that that you could easily chuck some dough at, no problem, and get them fights. And in reality, he's just, like I said, been parts, back of the, could have looked at Paul Butler, for example. Paul Butler for it would have been a great fight straight away. Not even entertained, I know Butler thinks he's, above that level. Vincent Legrand, before he beat, coming up against that. He was the European champion, just prior to, before he vacated and McGregor won it. There's loads of fighters, that more reputable names than just random Mexicans who basically that's all he's fought since he's joined. And like I said, I'll give Hearn credit because he can promote fighters well, but they need to have certain aspects. They need to either need to sell tickets or they've got a fancy last name like Ben, Hatton, that sort of stuff. Galahad Dickens literally headlined at the weekend because it had a world title on the line. If it was for a British title, it would not have headlined at all. And Cash Farouk, if he's one of the brightest young stars in boxing, should be headlining a fight, a card at Fight Camp, in my opinion. He's good, he's exciting, he should be there, or at least chief support. I'll actually be surprised if his fight makes TV. It wouldn't shock me if it's on, one of the Facebook
or something, yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly, because you look at it, you've got Buatsi Balotniks will headline. McKinson against Ronowski will be, up there. They're not going to put Raymond Ford against Reece Bellotti on Facebook. They're bringing Ford over from America. Savannah Marshall is on a world title. There's no chance they'll put that, on Facebook. You've got Jonas. I don't even know if she's still fighting. They've got Hopi Price in, a prospect, but they like him. Good fighter. So, they'll get Price on telly. In reality, you can see now the likes of, potentially Farouk being on, the pre-show. And what does that say? He's just not interested, particularly if this fight falls through. But yeah, they've got him a guy with a fancy record, but they'll just say, oh, it's just so stacked. And, this is how good it is. Cash Farouk, he's the Facebook card. When in reality, that's two fingers to Cash Farouk saying, this is what we think of you. He should be, right on there, that sort of prime, really build him. But it wouldn't shock me now, if he is the Facebook card, looking at what's confirmed already, and, just being, realistic of what they've done previously.
But Eddie told us he's one of the world's youngest, one of the greatest stars of world boxing just now. Just shows you, he just spouts shit.
Just say anything.
Yeah, he'll say anything. He'll say fucking anything.
Well,
Steve
when you have fight cards, when you have fight cards in your backyard, you can set the card, Andy. Until then, it's what Eddie wants.
Yeah.
Forget Arn with Hearn. You need to stick with Mick Cash Farouk.
Stick with Mick. Loving it. Get him on Channel 5, that's what I say. Better needed for Cash Farouk, I think. Better needed for us next weekend. It's going to be a packed, stacked weekend of fights. Ooh. The game will well and truly be changed. Before we move on to that, though, and before I go for a piss, Matty, let's get on to the PBC from the weekend. I shall throw 3 fights in your general direction, and feel free to bat them away, Matty, as you wish. Devin Alexander looking like absolute shit, losing a 10-round unanimous decision to Lucas Santamaria. Mantos Stanionis, no decision against Luis Collazo. The heads came together. Collazo was wincing. He was cut. His wife was crying at ringside. It was all getting pretty emotional. Stanionis didn't seem to bother too much, but that fight ended in a no decision. And more importantly, Gabriel Maestre, 2-time Olympian from Ecuador, I believe, who you were inviting us to take a look at last week. Oh, Venezuela. Sorry, Matthew. Venezuela. Doesn't matter where he's from. He needs to go back there after this disgrace. Now, we throw robbery around quite often, Matthew.
Fuck me, man.
There is no way in hell Michael J. Fox, as Joe Goosen kept calling him, lost this fight. I am. Tom Gray is apoplectic with rage, Matty. He's got a face like Jerry the Berry. How on earth did Fox lose this fight?
Jerry the Berry.
So this card was crazy. So let's go over the craziness of PBC and WBA in this one together. Of course, the WBA is going to be involved, right? So you have Luke Santamaria. Luke being the strangest name to go is Santa Maria. You think he'd be like Alejandro or something. Go figure. Taking on Devin Alexander. Okay? Santa Maria having beaten Michael Fox recently. Maestre was supposed to face Corey Connors from Canada, who is undefeated and of normal height. He is an undefeated fighter, and then he tested positive for COVID. So they canned that. So Michael Fox comes in as the replacement fighter, somehow getting to fight for the WBA interim title against a Venezuelan two-time Olympian who is 3-0 with 3 knockouts. Against reasonable competition, by the way. It's not absolutely insane. It's just pretty insane. Okay, so in the fights, Santa Maria is able to eke out a good decision over Devin Alexander. Alexander looks like trash. He needs to stay retired.
Man.
And you should watch that fight with the Fox, the actual Fox replay, because the CompuBox is so ridiculous. There were times I'd look down and I'd see the punch number. I'd look up and I'd see Santa Maria land some punches. I'd look down and nothing would happen. At one time, I looked down and they gave punches to Alexander. It's the punch stats were completely fucking ridiculous. I can't even explain it. So awful, not a good fight, but Santa Maria won. Thankfully, the decision was right in that one. All right, in the Maestre against the fight against Fox. Fox dropped Maestre in the second round after a first round that definitely went towards Maestre and then appeared to dominate probably until about the 11th round. And you could probably say that Maestre took 11 and 12. The Fox unofficial scorecard was 119 to 108, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had it 11 rounds to 1. And I will say that I think that card is just as disgraceful as the 117 to 110 card for Gabriel Maestre. I think they are equally trash. My opinion, I scored that fight 115 to 112 for Fox. And I thought that I gave Maestre 1, 5, 6, 11, and 12. Because I just, a lot of what Fox was landing wasn't hard at all. I'll take a good body shot over a head tap any day. That's just the way I scored that. But the fact that Maestre won on all cards, the closest one being 114, 113, giving him 7 rounds, is insane. Because Fox won that fight. But that's just karma in the WBA. As far as the shit show working, it should have been Santa Maria stepping in to fight Maestre when Connor was out, but that didn't happen. So now you have a dejected Michael Fox who has already been knocked out by a fighter who last night before the fight with Alexander was 11 and 2. Okay, he should have won and he lost, and the WBA interim title is with Maestre, and that makes him mandatory for the Pacquiao Spence winner or something, or is there a gold title in between there, or regular?
There's 5 belt holders. Belt holders.
Yeah. Or is Ugas? Does Ugas have something there?
Ugas has the super. Is it Ugas is a super, isn't he? I think.
And I always just consider him kind of moderate. So
James is the world. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is the gold. Pacquiao is the regular. Stanionis also fought for some kind of WBA interim or bauble or something, I think, last night as well.
But
as did
Maestre. Technical decision. So God, that's terrible. One of those.
You have to create another belt, Matty. That's the only thing to do.
Floating around.
Man alive.
Andy, the thing is, Andy, I'm not very good at mathematicals, and I'll be the first to admit that. But you see the 117, 110, it doesn't make any sense to me. So you've got 117, 111 to Maestre, would be 9 rounds to 3. I'm right in saying that, aren't I? But the fact that Michael Fox scored the knockdown, yet Maestre gets a 117, 110 is almost like Maestre's been credited for the knockdown. The numbers just do not add up for me.
10 to 2, they gave him 10 rounds. They gave him 10 rounds on that card.
That Gloria Martinez gave Maestre every single round from round 5 to the end. Every single round.
It was a female judge again?
Yeah, but listen, I'm being serious. I'm going to go one step further. I took a list of some of the disgusting robberies I've seen over the years, and that I'm going to mention something like most Spinotka fights: Sturm against De La Hoya, Pacquiao against Horn, Pacquiao Bradley.
I was fine with both of those.
Fury Wilder first fight, for example. Sweet Pea Whitaker against Chavez or Ramirez.
Sweet Pea Chavez is the flag bearer, isn't it?
Yeah, without doubt.
I thought the Ramirez fight was worth it. Wasn't one of those cards like 118 to 111 or something like that for Ramirez, and that was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that first fight in Argentina between Juan Martin Kogi and Edgar Gonzalez. But let me tell you this, guys. In my opinion, that result last night will be forever written in the annals of boxing history as one of the worst robberies in boxing history. Guaranteed. That was absolutely fucking outrageous what happened there last night, by the way. And there's nobody really, mainstream. I see Tom Gregg into his high horse about it and that, but there is no way anybody who watched that fight scored that I've spoken to has scored it for Gabriel Maestri, right? I was kind of pressed to give him 3 rounds there last night, right? And a lot of stuff's getting put on Gloria Martinez and that. I see the tweets that are getting dug up about potential racism and Donald Trump and all that sort of stuff.
She's a QAnon supporter and he's not a believer. So she robbed him on the cards.
But what I'm going to say is this right now. The other 2 judges are getting off light in this one, John Moreno and David Singh, who both had Maestri winning that fight. They need to be fucking getting shit as well. There is no way. None. Maestri won that fucking fight last night. 0. And if you did have him,
Fox was too negative, though. You have to admit that Fox was too negative.
No, absolutely. Listen, mate.
Fox was too negative.
He was keeping him on the end of punches. He was throwing maybe 3 or 4 punch combinations. He was coming out. He was using the full ring. Right. So what are they doing? Are they actually scoring rounds purely for Maestri, forcing it, going forward, and no landing shit? Because that's what was happening. Until later on in that fight, Maestri was landing shit, man.
I agree that the decision was wrong, but Fox did himself no favors. He did a whole lot of. It was a lot of negative and a lot of what he. It's just.
But he's been shot since fucking.
It was
Back to the Future 3. For God's sake, the man has Parkinson's.
It was effective. But it was gentle. Other than that knockdown shot, and there was a good straight he landed when Maestri stopped. He definitely outboxed him. And I'm not saying he didn't win the fight, but you've got to do more positive if you're a fucking nobody.
What's it matter though? He's being positive. He won the fight. What more do you want him to do? Not every fighter can come forward and land heavy blows and stuff. Sometimes you guys who are wanting to use it, he used everything, every tangible advantage. His length, his reach. He kept him on the end of his shots. Maybe not got a lot of power, but he was stepping on the side, dropped him as well. What do you want to do?
Dude, things are never going to be easy for you when you have a misspelled celebrity's name and your dad sounds like a generic video game.
He really did use all his tangible assets when he used his length as well. Fucking hell, what else does he have to do?
6'4", no less, Robert. 6'4".
No. Anyway, forget it. Sorry, that was a bad reach for me. I'm still recovering. Go ahead.
Dude has obviously skipped every fucking leg day that he's had at the gym. Go up to fucking super welterweight and get yourself some calves. Then maybe you could punch a little.
He's mad for leg day, really. He fucking can't stop about leg day.
Dude, that's the one thing that people that have been fat most of their lives have going for us is we have wonderful calves. We have tremendous calves. Every day is a workout, Rob. Every day.
I don't know what that says about myself, to be honest with you.
Well, you did take the knee, Rob. I suppose that is leg day of sorts.
That's true. Fuck, I'll be back. I shall return, as the hitman said.
I'll be back.
Matty, not that I want to take us back onto a dangerous path here, but what about Joe Goosen and Lennox Lewis and commentary, man? They're becoming increasingly like a couple of dementia-ridden uncles, aren't they, them pair?
Lennox.
Yeah, you're talking about Lennox, right, Steve?
Yeah,
Lennox.
Yeah. This is the new phenomenon, by the way, because I heard a female saying it on that broadcast as well, going Lennox. I'm like, really? When did this all become fashionable?
If you're gonna do that, you have to don't you have to draw a little fucking squiggle above a letter in there somewhere? I think there are rules.
Give him an umlaut.
Yeah, there was some erotic talk going on there too. A lot, Goosen was talking about how you have to touch him and you just have to get close to the guy and stuff like that. I don't know. It was. I don't know about that team there, Steve. I don't know.
Goosen kept calling him Michael J. Fox, and Lennox kept on calling Collazo Galazos.
They're just. I don't know, man. I don't know. That was a tough night. I didn't even catch that that Lennox was calling Collazo that, and I will give myself credit. I think I've gotten so good at tuning out the commentary and fights that I don't even notice half of it anymore. I'm gonna have to give myself a gold star.
See,
that's why I'm not swayed like you typical swine.
just going back to the Maestro fight, that Ray Flores did the international broadcast, so he was doing solo.
Mm-hmm.
He was raging, fucking fuming after that fight when
I saw him on Twitter. Yeah,
and I seen Jimmy Lennon Jr. looking at the scorecard 3 times before he read it out, and you see his eyes were like dead. He's like, "Am I going to have to read this shit out?"
It was like Haskins Bennett, Andy. It's almost like the woman had got the 2 fighters mixed up. Or something.
Oh, aye, I remember that. And even though they had their names emblazoned across their freaking trunks, couldn't get the result right.
To be fair, that does look more like Maestre's name is domestic than Fox's name when you put them together.
Okay, Maestre. Oh my word, man! As I say, rematch has got to happen.
Yeah, rematch.
It's got to happen, mate.
Maestre's going to beat him too.
Maestro's
knock him out.
Maestro's a Patreon subscriber as well, isn't he? So good luck to him.
Good old Maestro.
We need to be careful about how that's getting processed then, Steve, because I hear that they just chopped some zeros off the boulevard because of hyperinflation.
Oh, there you go. Then we're going to be in trouble financially this week. But shout out to the people who have joined us on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Christopher, John O'Donovan and Kevin Sutherland. And a shout out to our super chatters for episode 435. Kaiser Koba, Mark Campbell, Dominic Henry, and a special shout out to Gary Kavanagh from last week who dropped 50 notes in the pot. And he's here for episode 435. So is Matty, so is Ozzy, so is Rapping Rob Kelly, and me, Steve. Plenty going on next week. Let's get right onto it, shall we? Before we do so, though, we've had a few questions coming in from the people, the beautiful people, like Ben Faruqi, Ozzy, who says, have we forgotten about Kid Galahad's ban? We seem to have collective amnesia when a once-tarnished fighter succeeds. Follow-up is, should we forgive and forget when a fighter has served their sentence? It's happening that much these days, Ozzy. I suppose it's hard not to.
Well, I didn't forget because I acknowledged it when I said, where I said he'd done it the hard way, coming up through the small holes and then got that ban as well. That's completely his fault, by the way. But it's like you say, it all depends on the punishment, didn't it? Many will argue that he was dealt, I think it was it a 2-year ban he got, Galahad, or was it 1? I seem to remember it was quite lengthy, actually. It wasn't, just like
2 years and it reduced from appeal, I'm sure, mate.
Yeah, so it was fair, it was fairly lengthy, in the grand scheme of things of what we've seen on other people. But no, we've not forgotten about it. But in reality, that many people are doping these days. If we're not going to watch fighters who, have been rumoured or have been convicted of doping, there's not many fighters we would be watching, really. I mean, look, arguably the biggest name in the sport, Canelo, many people forget, he served a drugs ban, through tainted beef. And look,
Fury.
we all know that was a pack of lies. Yeah, Tyson Fury. Alexander Povetkin was cropping up on Sky cards left, right, and centre. Convicted doper. Dillian White.
Few unreported B samples. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I mean,
I think it's easier.
Take your pick.
It's easier to forget about Galahad's fights than his token.
Yeah. But
take like any known list of fighters as far as people who've competed on a top level that have had the advantages of promoters, and go through it and think about how many have been popped and how many you think probably should be popped. Like, I think the number of fighters who are clearly not juicing is the vast minority when you really look at the upper echelons.
Yeah, shout out to Des, who says, with regard to the drugs thing, it's quicker to talk about who hasn't failed. Andrew Thickett throwing in an observation. Just an observation, he says. But is there a competition amongst British heavyweights to see who can wear the silliest headgear? Joe Joyce wore a plant pot in the ring before his recent fight. And last night, Dillian White seemed to be trying to resemble a 90s raver at the Hacienda. The boys are definitely enjoying themselves at ringside from Fight Camp, Rapping Rob Kelly. Question flying in through for thick and fast from Ben Faruqi. He says, if Babic had done that proposal on Sky, he proposed to his girlfriend, by the way, Rob, how much bigger of an impact would it have had in terms of media reach and engagement, Rob? Would the game have been changed?
Listen, forget about that. What he needs to do is start training now for the Stag Night, right? Don't worry about the fucking engagement. That's over. He just needs to fucking do the rounds now sensibly and try and maintain a steady pace during the early rounds. Like, that's my advice to Babic anyway.
There you go, advice from Rapping Rob Kelly coming in from the Stag Night on a Saturday
Your
night.
problem
Alan.
is you didn't alternate cocaine with beverages, Rob. That's how you keep going past
I think that might have been the problem, all right. Yeah,
yeah, Rob, you loser.
Fucking idiot.
Rapping Rob Kelly, live and exclusive. Right, let's look at...
On a totally unrelated note,
yes.
Somebody stick £10 in the super chat, quick.
It's not going to be Ricky Gravel anyway.
Ricky.
Good old Ricky Gravel. Yes, Belly of the Week's coming up a little bit later on. No more questions. Nobody sent any in, which is fine with me. There's plenty going on next week. We'll start with you, Matthew, in the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Saturday the 14th of August. The Maloney brothers are in action. Jason Maloney going in against Joshua Greer Jr., who has a couple of losses on the resume. Arnold Barboza Jr., 25-0, going in against Antonio Moran, who was once spectacularly knocked out, I seem to remember, by Devin Haney. But most importantly, on the main event, third time lucky here, Matty, Joshua Franco defending his WBA World Super Flyweight title against Andrew Maloney. We all remember the controversy of the second fight. And most importantly, Matthew, what's Helen Mirren going to be doing on Saturday night? Is she going to be knee-deep in this fight, do you think?
God only knows, Steve. God only knows.
A year ago, anyway.
My hunch on the fight itself, Steve, is that over the course of the two fights, Maloney has definitely been figuring Franco out, and he should be able to finally seal the deal on Saturday night. That would be my hunch. It could be wrong. I could have just given him the kiss of death. But that's the way I think it's going to go. As far as the undercard goes, man, dude, if you've been knocked out by Devin Haney, I think your fucking next fight result's pretty much fucking set in stone. So good luck, brother, man.
A quick one from you, Andy, on the Franco Maloney saga. Franco wasn't expected to win the first fight. He dropped Maloney, he won narrowly on the cards. And then the second fight, against popular opinion, if you remember, I did a bit of research. Everyone was trying to say, wasn't it some kind of a headbutt? And they tried to say that it wasn't a headbutt, it was caused by a punch. And then they said, oh, the referee didn't say that. But do you remember, I went back into the footage, into the files, and it was clearly the commentary team, the referee, everybody said it was caused by a punch. Either way, it was much ado about nothing. Let's hope that they get it sorted out this time. Do you think Franco might be the better man of the two, Andy?
Remember you had Robert Bird sitting for 20 minutes looking at the review tapes, probably fell asleep there.
Trying to remember where he was.
Fucking Jesus, man. To be honest, mate, I think this, as I say, it's a toss-up, this one. I think these two guys' styles are just basically kind of mixed to a point, whereas it's going to be a close fight regardless. Maloney, I say, he's had to kind of, he's went on the road obviously and that as well, beating Puerto Rico and that, but he needs to win this fight. Obviously, he needs to win this fight. No, sorry, it wasn't Puerto Rico. It was Chile. Sorry, what am I talking about? He actually went to Chile and had to fucking fight a guy called Gonzalez, I'm sure it was, and almost got hosed off the female referee. Really, he was calling for his world title shot as well. So he's got it. I don't know what version of the belt he's fighting for. This is another BA belt and that, so I don't know if it's legit or etc. But I fancy him to do it this time. I think he'll win it on points. I'll go 115, 113, but I think it will be a tough fight. Like I can see a lot of roughhousing, especially on the inside. He'll need to, basically, that's where he's got to kind of go to work on the inside and that. And to be honest with you, I know their belts are kind of flying about that at this point. But I'm sure Maloney's the other side of 30 at this point, and that's, you wonder as well how many opportunities he's going to go and keep getting.
So they're fucking infinite, Andy.
Yeah, I suppose. Mate, but October's coming shortly, mate. So WBA going to be cutting back in these belts, allegedly.
Is Vitali still like champion emeritus of one of the organizations? I forgot what happened.
Yeah, Mo Jones.
When he left.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, you were asking about WBA champions. The WBA, in my opinion, are actually slacking down at 115 because you have Joshua Franco, who's the world champion, Juan Francisco Estrada, who's the super champion, and Mikhail Oloyan. You might remember him losing to Zolani Teti a few years ago in the World Boxing Super Series. He's picked up a gold title, so only the 3 champions, so they need to up their game.
Absolutely, mate. I wouldn't be shocked or surprised before October's out that we'll see the interim belt make a wee appearance there, possibly, without doubt. Flyweight's only got the 3 belts, not got a super champion there yet at flyweight, so we need to get the finger out there. Light flyweight, I need to go and double check on that one, but as I say, minimum weight 105, 4 champions, but no, like the 147, mate, 5 belt holders. That's what it's all about.
Fuck's sake. Bunch of wankers. Yes, hopefully they are going to cut them down very shortly. Ozzy, I'm going to cut you down here. I'm not going to burden you with this card. Instead, I will take you, whisk you off back to Matchroom HQ. We've already talked about Cash Fruit long enough, I suppose. Anything else on the card there? You got Savannah Marshall supposedly fighting. Felix Cash, interested to see him back against TBA, if indeed he fights after that fantastic win over Denzel Bentley. Raymond the Savage Ford has been bought over from America, you would imagine, to put a beating on Reese Bellotti. Michael McKinson, fresh from a career best victory over Chris Congo, going in against Ronowski, who I believe was last seen on these shores getting beaten by Josh Kelly. And in the main event, Joshua Buatsi in need of a step up. Don't really mind this so much. Balotniks is a man for upsetting the odds. Don't think he will on Saturday night. But compared to what Buatsi's been fighting recently, I'm not completely averse to Balotniks getting his chance here.
Absolutely not. I think it's a decent fight because, I think the last time we saw Buatsi, it was against, he beat up that Daniel Santos, who was the definition of shit. But prior to that, he struggled against that Marco Kalic. And Buatsi didn't have it all his own way, and I think it was a real gut test for him. And I think potentially Balotniks has got, the potential to put that on him, or we could see a big performance from where, Balotniks is somewhat of known, not saying, every casual will know about him, but he's more well known than that, some of Buatsi's previous opponents, even that Kalic as well, who, I think was somewhat accidental that he put a bit of a beating on Buatsi at times. But Balotniks beat Burton pretty comfortably, bashed up big Stevie Ward, and then beat Serge Michel as well in the final of that MTK Golden Contract. He's got an opportunity. He's had notice. He's coming to win. I think he's backed by MTK as well, this Balotniks. It's going to be interesting, particularly if he can, he can test Buatsi early. Is Buatsi still with Virgil Hunter?
One of the boys in the chat says there, Ozzy, about him being with Shane McGuigan, but I'm the same as you. I thought it was with Virgil Hunter, yeah?
No, he's not with McGuigan. Well, the recent interviews I've watched from McGuigan, he's never mentioned Buatsi at all. So
I think the boy's just putting the question out there. I think it's still Hunter, as far as I'm aware of.
Yeah, that's what I would say. So that's going to be interesting to see how he's developed under Hunter. I think the last fight there wasn't really, much time at all, but they've had a camp here, so it's going to be interesting. McKinson against Ronowski, it's just going to be boring. Neither of them, can pump fight the way out of a wet paper bag, more from a punching perspective rather than, actual ability. Because on ability, McKinson's, really good, really talented, got good skills. I just think, it'll be just, pretty much 100-90 win for McKinson. I think Ray Ford will beat Bellotti. I think he'll stop Bellotti as well. We know what Reese Bellotti's about, don't we? And he's been, I say found out, but he's come up short repeatedly around the British type, the British level sort of thing. We spoke about Farouk before. We don't need to go into any more detail on that. Hopey Price in a step up against a 5-0 unbeaten Italian, but we know that unbeaten Italians, their records mean absolutely fuck all because usually they fight absolute trash. And then you've got Savannah Marshall, whose opponent still hasn't been named, so unsure about that. Felix Cash, is he fighting? Not sure, but I've no time for British champions. We boxed earlier this year. In my opinion, they should be looking to defend this belt. He should be having a tick-over fight, just to keep busy. There's enough middleweights in the UK that would gladly take the opportunity to fight for the British title. Felix Cash is comfortably the best fighter in Britain. So, there's no risk. And it keeps the belt active. For me, it's not as if, he's had 18 months out. He should be defending this title. And Tasha Jonas, again, not a clue. But we know the depth of women's boxing, and the opponent will just simply not be very good. And I've no doubt they'll be lining her up for a world title, possibly against Chantel Cameron. Putting 2 and 2 together, easy defense. Not easy defenses in an easy fight, but both with Matchroom, Jonas put up a really impressive performance against Katie Taylor. So this card is better than the week gone for me. Still not as good as week 1, but I think week 1 was difficult to live up to. But certainly looking forward to the main event in Buatsi and Balotniks. The rest of the card, a bit so-so. We'll probably watch Rayford. We'll definitely watch Cash Farouk. And the rest, like I said, you've got 3 fights that just against TBA. So TBA is clearly non-binary if he's fighting Savannah Marshall, Tasha Jonas, and Felix Cash that night. So good to see.
Non-binary fights in the garden coming to you soon. Des makes a good point, Rob. The Virgil Hunter link up with Buatsi, on paper it looks good, but these long distance relationships, do they ever really work?
They never really work, Steve, I think, do they? We go back to the days of Freddie Roach and Alex Arthur. We've seen that story play out before when the coach is in a different country. It's hard to have that
on the telephone.
Yeah, Skype wanking is just not the same. You know what I mean? Only get you so far. So no matter what your hand speed is. So So that's my take on that. Is
good take from Rob there. Yeah, Balotniks, he's going to come and give it a go, Andy. He's on a bit of a run, isn't he? Going through the golden contract. He beat Stephen Ward in the first round, mainly by virtue of the fact Ward isn't very good and hasn't got much punch resistance. Then went and beat the living daylights out of Jose Burton, from what I remember, and then stopped Sergi Michel in a really good performance by Balotniks. Forgot his name already. 3 good wins in a row. Before that, went the 12-round distance as well, including a win over an 18-0 fighter. Of what repute, we don't really know. But I think the main thing is, we've talked about Buatsi before. Why is he not being stepped up? Yeah. Still not really being stepped up, but at least this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think this is a fighter who might just drag this fight into a bit of a dogfight. Might see Buatsi having to dig deep a wee bit. Yeah, to be honest, I've not seen Balotniks' last couple of fights. I did see him live in Riga against Mickey Nelson. To me, at least, I thought he won that fight. He was basically at Nelson's face all night long. He has had some good wins in the UK and that as well, obviously. But just one of the fighters. He is tough. He's honest. He'll come to fight. Maybe not got the power as such. And look, I know he's been stopped off Machuno, but that's no shame. I rate Machuno at world level, so just need to wait to see how it goes. I expect Buatsi to win. Probably, I'm going to say he wins on points. If he stops him possibly late, as I said, I fancy it going into a bit of trench warfare fight. And if it does turn out like that, we'll see. We want to see Buatsi tested again. I really want to see how that chin holds up, and really kind of see, is he actually a natural fighter like I believe he is. So as I said, we'll see if he's got the full repertoire involved next week in that. But I'm not going to be going out my way to try and watch this card. Like, I watch Cash and I watch Buatsi, but I noticed I'm just going through like next week's shows and that. So I maybe pick something else to kind of like tide me over until those fights happen. For example, some trash cards and that as well. But who knows? I'm not going to be going out my road to watch this, though, to be honest with you.
Good stuff, Andy. We will watch with interest. Maybe not the undercard, but definitely the main event. Quick word from you, Matty. Finally, Joshua Buatsi ranked number 4 by the WBC, number 2 by the WBA, slacking again. They've only got 2 champions at 175, number 3 by the IBF, and number 7 by the WBO. So he's obviously doing the right thing in the rankings. But what do you make of Buatsi? Have you seen anything of him, Matty? Has he impressed you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of his fights, and the competition isn't up, and and so it's tough to say. But Balotniks is really kind of an interesting test for him. He's he's undefeated at 175 pounds. He's got some good names on his record at 175 pounds. Everything that didn't go well in his career was up at cruiserweight. So, Buatsi's coming in against a bigger guy who's got an odd set of experience considering the number of fights. So these are definitely the kind of stepping stones that you need. And I think this should be considered definitely a move in the right direction of his career, is kind of showing what he's got.
Okay, let's fly on then, boys. Got plenty to get through before the end of the show. Episode 435 over in Dubai next Friday evening. Austin Trout is going in against Alejandro Davia. Anthony Sims Jr., one-time Eddie prospect. Looks like he's been shoved out to Dubai 20-1 now for his first fight since his loss to Roma, Alexis Angulo. He's going in against 8-3 Hernan David Perez. More interestingly, Rob, just before we slide off this card, Tony Salam, London-based Nigerian, going in for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Cruiserweight title against Mike Perez. He hasn't fought in nearly 3 years, Perez. Looks like he's having one last run of it down at Cruiserweight. Obviously, he's had a tough time in his career with the Abdul Salamov thing. That was a long time ago now. Got knocked out by Povetkin. Lost a unanimous decision to Bradis as well. Can we see one final run, Rob, for Perez at Cruiserweight maybe before he hangs them up?
Yeah, I think he's definitely capable, but inactivity and age, old men can't do the distance like they used to. So Perez looks in great shape in the build up to this fight. He's almost unrecognizable from his pudgy days when he used to be flattening Latvian lads on undercards of Bernard Dunn and Andy Lee.
Two fighters on the same night on one show, or was that?
Yeah. Fucking absolutely icing fellas. Like, brilliant technique, lovely fighter. Like, just probably a little bit small for the current heavyweight crop. Maybe cruiserweight was a bit better fit for him, but he needed to be there earlier. So don't expect much. But I like Mike Perez, man. Good guy.
Yeah, good luck to Mike Perez. That's
Steve,
a true story. Go on, Oz.
Have you seen this opponent who Tony Salam? He made his debut back in 2006. Obviously beat Oval McKenzie, got banged out off Courtney Fry. And then the WBA have somehow ranked this, put a ranking belt on the line when his last fight was against debutant James Udakike in Lagos, Nigeria at Royal Park. And now he's fighting for a ranking belt, which will no doubt give him a top 10 ranking. Where the hell did But where the hell did he pluck this guy from?
There's here, Ozzy. I remember Salam in the ABAs back in the day. He got chucked out of the London finals for wearing the wrong hand wraps.
Fuck's sake. So that's another 2 vacant WBA belts on the list again there, boys.
Yeah.
International belts.
Vacant WBA Intercontinental Cruiserweight title.
Sorry.
For a guy that last boxed at just basically at light heavyweight against James Udakike. And then he had impressive wins over the well-known Kwesi Tutu, who was 12-42, and that was in at Landmark Event Centre in Nigeria. And then he avenged a loss Saul Farah style against Chamunorawa Gonorenda.
Gonorrhea.
We've all get revenge in that battle.
So yeah, I mean, God, Perez. I mean, even the shadow of Mike Perez will fucking bang this Tony Salam out. So I don't. Who is promoting this card? Like, I don't know where they plucked this, but Lucas Brown should have been on this card against. Oh, fucking hell! I forget, against a 6-0 heavyweight, but a week and a half out from the fight, and Lucas Brown realised that nobody had been in contact to book his flights from Australia to Dubai, so he felt it was right that he should pull out because he hadn't.
That he wasn't going.
So, yeah. So, and then he said that he was able to find a flight, but then he couldn't find one back, so he decided to pull out. So, God knows who's promoting this. I've not a clue.
Oh dear, sounds like a tin box AO card. But anyway, from one extreme to the other, Andy, over in Texas, Virgil Ortiz Jr. 17-0 going in against Edgar Kavaliauskas 22-1-1 for the WBO international welterweight title. Forget about the bullshit title. This is a proper fight. Ortiz, if he goes in all guns blazing, he's in against a genuine puncher here. He could come unstuck. Is the main key to victory for Ortiz to show a little wrinkle in his game, Andy? Maybe step off, use his skills, get on the jab and avoid this guy? Or do you think he should go out all guns blazing and see what happens?
I think at some point, if he gets Kavaliauskas hurt or thinks he's hurt him, he'll probably step in and try and end matters. He's still got that KO record, still 100%. He's probably want to keep it going, but usually Kavaliauskas is... which, by the way, I was just thinking as you were talking that Kavaliauskas was with Top Rank. Now he's gone over to the zone, so I just wondered maybe Top Rank's washed their hands of him, to be honest with you. But I was watching an interview with Ortiz... I forget when it was a couple of weeks back. He was saying that actually, obviously, he had COVID and was surprised actually to find out the actual Hooker fight still went ahead, even though he was still recovering for that as well, you know. So there is that as well. But I expect, or hoping at least, to see Ortiz looking good. No going balls to the wall, try to force a stoppage at least. And I want to see him kind of like, you know, use the jab more, working some combinations, and probably, as I say, working on the defence a little bit, because obviously the fight that you and I want to see actually is Ortiz against Boots Ennis. That's the fight to happen at 147. I don't care about belts, A-side, TV station, I don't give a shit. That's the fight that's to happen. Maybe a wee bit too early in their careers and that. We can see all that happening as well, but I expect Ortiz to, I'm kind of half expect him to kind of look good, but I'm saying to myself, Kavaliauskas is obviously, he can be tricky in that as well, you know. But I'm going to say Ortiz. I was going to go for a late stoppage actually. I'm going to say Ortiz 10, 11 round stoppage.
That would be a nice little statement if that happened.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think Crawford stopped him as well quite late. Maybe see him drop a few times. I'm expecting left hooks to the body as well, and he is quite a tall dude for memory in that Kavaliauskas. So we'll wait and see, but I'm expecting Ortiz to look good doing it. 10, 11 round stoppage.
Yeah, you got the Crawford comparison. Matty, obviously, Kavaliauskas was last seen beating up Michel Zewski, who suffered for being a nice guy. Kavaliauskas got him on the hook. He had a bit of trouble with Zewski up to that point, and then he banged him out of there. But obviously, the comparisons are there to be made with the Crawford performance. Crawford did get rid of Kavaliauskas in the end, but obviously, he kind of got dropped, not dropped. I think it was definitely a legitimate knockdown in my eyes. But you can make those Ortiz comparisons. A Golden Boy may be hoping he can do a better job than Crawford. If he did, that would be quite the statement, Matty.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the one thing that you have to consider with Crawford is that, excuse me, he is the naturally smaller guy in that fight with Kavaliauskas. What Ortiz has is he's this is his first weight class. He's a pretty big welterweight as it is. He's definitely not going to end his career at 147 pounds. So I think he's going to have certain physical advantages over Mean Machine that Crawford didn't have. So I wouldn't be shocked if Ortiz actually gets the job done a little bit early. He'll probably take some shots. There might even be a hairy moment for him in there. But I think that that Kavaliauskas is there to be hit, and Virgil Ortiz hits like a fucking truck.
Thing is, Rob, Virgil Ortiz is number one ranked with the WBO. Crawford is obviously the champion, so you got that Golden Boy top rank thing going on there. If he is going to get a chance at a belt, he's going to have to force it against either Crawford or obviously Spence holds the WBC and IBF. There's about 53 titles at the WBA, all held by PBC fighters. Ortiz's best chance here is to solidify this position, get rid of Kavaliauskas, Rob, and then try and force the Crawford fight, would you imagine? What do you think, Rob? Try and force it?
I think Rob's went for hair of the dog there, I think.
What was it? Sorry, what was the question?
I was just saying about...
He woke up eventually, there we go.
Half of the belts at 147 are held by PBC fighters, apart from the WBO, which is Crawford. So if Ortiz is going to get his shot, he's going to have to keep on trying to force that mandatory with the WBO.
You fell asleep again.
Get closer to the mic, Rob.
Can't hear you, Rob.
I'm struggling to hear you there, Rob.
I fell asleep. Struggling to speak, to be honest with you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
There
Go on.
we
Yep,
go.
yep. Go on,
Yeah, no, sorry. I was saying the PB. It's going to be worse the third time. Like I was going to say, the PBC stands for pretty big chimichangas when it comes to Earl Spence, one of their guys. So,
Rob's up at 9 there, actually.
yeah, I'm back like fucking Fury. I'm back like the Phoenix. Did you ever say the Phoenix, mate?
Have you ever had a chimichanga, Rob?
I've had several. Let me tell you.
Okay. Dear God.
Premium.
Is Ortiz going to beat
chimichangas in that
Kavalauskas
case.
then, Rob?
What do we say?
Is Ortiz going to beat Kavalauskas? Come on. Neck on the line.
Which Ortiz? Virgil Ortiz?
No, Virgil Ortiz, yeah. Although Victor is coming up fighting soon.
No, so yeah, Virgil Ortiz, yeah, Ortiz is going to beat him, yeah. The Mean Machine. Of course he is. Mean Machine is on the wrong side of a few defeats. Good fighter in his day, but no, Ortiz all the way for the PBC.
He's a young guy. Like, this is his day. It's not like he's not in his prime. I think this is like his 23rd or 24th fight. He's not exactly.
I think he had the long amateur career though. At the same time,
He's looked good with everyone he's been thrown in with, every little step up. A Roscoe,
except
Solomon.
for Ray Robinson, he didn't look too good in that fight with Ray Robinson. If I recall,
Josh Kelly was his name.
Ortiz?
No, I thought you were talking Kavalauskas.
Oh no, Kavalauskas definitely struggled. Ray Robinson's an awkward old fighter though, Matty. Give him some due. Come on.
Yeah,
he's 120 these days, by the way.
Yeah, you just get cursed with the fucking name, right, man? The expectations are too high. You could never meet him. Poor son of a bitch.
Like with me and R. Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could never drink enough water to do what he has done, Rob.
Yeah, or start my own sex cult. It just doesn't work out the way you want it to sometimes.
Fuck the ID.
Yeah, that's living in a religious country for you. They just stomp on your dreams.
Right, I don't know where the hell we've ended up here, Ozzy, but save us from this madness quickly. So Sean Porter's being pushed in as WBO number 1, isn't he? But at Ortiz, he can solidify his position if he beats Kavalauskas.
Yeah, and that's good to purse bids as well. So look, that fight has to happen unless, Porter's definitely not going to withdraw from the fight and, Crawford's not vacating the belt. So I think this, the mandatory hope is a long way away, given that's been called, and, that fight should happen probably early next year, if not later this year. But I think, this is another fight where Ortiz can look very good. Decent fight as well. I like the way he's been matched. I think the Hooker performance was very good. Hooker's a decent fighter, has got skills, awkward, has power, and I thought Ortiz was excellent. Kavalauskas, he has only got that one defeat, and it was against Crawford. Didn't look great against Robinson. Got that draw, and I think it was fairly close. When he knocked out that. Was it Zuski or something like that that he boxed last year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fairly close then. Look, he said all the right things in the build-up, Kavalauskas, I'm coming to win, not here just to lie down. I certainly think he'll bring the fight to him, and he can pop himself, but I think Ortiz is the real deal. Good fighter, matched well, fair, not as active as I would like it to be, particularly, in the last, but he had a very busy 2019, just the one fight in 2020, did box earlier this year. Would like to see him get a bit busier, but, all roads put, in the right direction. And I think he'll stop Kavalauskas, in pretty impressive fashion. So good fight. And it's going to be interesting after that where they'll go next, because, that WBO mandatory isn't going to happen. It's as simple as that. So after that, who did he pull in next? There's not really, many left. I don't see him, do I dare say it? Adrian, does the problem make a comeback potentially, getting that cash? Otherwise, I'm not sure. I really don't know who else. I don't know who else, they could potentially bring in.
Must admit,
I would buy a pay-per-view if it was Virgil Ortiz against Broner, because Virgil Ortiz would knock that motherfucker out, and it would be one of the happiest moments of my fucking life.
Matthew, stop.
AB ain't that easily got rid of. Come on now, he's like the clock. He keeps coming back.
I'm growing wood here, by the way. I must admit,
if there is a God, it will end the way that Russian fight ended. If that happens, I will be in Sunday Mass the way my grandpa always wanted me to go the very next morning. If that fucking happens, no, Andy, no.
I was going
to say actually,
Broner's still 0-30 just now, isn't he?
I don't know what he's up. Has he come up for air yet?
Sorry, Oz. My erection just got so big.
Go on, Oz.
You don't need to apologise for that, Matthew. That's your personal thing. But no, I was going to say a potential opponent for Ortiz after this, if he could line up, like a big final eliminator potentially for the WBO, and it becomes the next mandatory. David Avanesian, looking for a big fight, wants that big fight. Don't think he'd shy away. Avanesian was being lined up as a potential opponent for Terence Crawford. So, look, he's assigned to Matchroom, but again, has just been completely discarded after banging out Josh Kelly. Matchroom didn't even, win the bid for his, European title fight against Liam Taylor, Avanesian. So that could be a potential opponent. Avanesian's name, bit of clout behind it, fair, known in America as well. So it's not, unrealistic for me, because I just don't see, as you say, the bigger names with PBC, and that's just not going to, they're not going to attract one of them over, and they're certainly not going to send, Ortiz over there either.
You need to go into the zone, mate. There's no big fights for him on PBC. If you want to be a middleweight champion, you need to go into zone ASAP.
Even in 10 days' time, touch wood, DAZN have the entire roster of middleweight world champions. So people like Charlo, you've no fights for you. If you want to be a world middleweight champion, you better join DAZN ASAP.
Can't even beat Canelo against Plant. Oh my word! And then obviously, his interview about when he was asked about Canelo, for example, and that I'm Team Canelo. I'm sitting in the background. He still tells me I'm his guy, so he's making that. Canelo's got you fucking dangling, by the way. He's got you on fucking strings like the fucking Tracy's brothers. On the board, there we go.
Eddie Joe 90.
I just want to know if Canelo has him do it behind a sheet, or if he wants him to look him in the eye.
Oh, are you talking about
whatever Canelo wants, baby?
Prison break when they pull a cut across Matty eyes. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. I think I missed you there, Andy.
Do you think Eddie takes the balls as well? By the way,
I think he cups them, but I don't know if he takes them.
No, but what I'm saying is, if Canelo pits in the shaft, I think he would put the balls in as well. Eddie'd be like, just put them in there as well.
I guess it depends on what fight is possible.
Well, we're talking Canelo against anybody here, so we're talking payday at least,
It's the market economy. Incentives speak, Andy.
A lot of people fancy gingers and that these days, especially white gingers from Mexico and that. They're quite rare.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, a lot of that stems from central. A lot of that, Andy, stems from Central European immigration to Mexico City during the late 1800s.
There we go. Irish been
Louis C.K.'s family can trace himself back to that immigration.
Oh, well, fucking there we go.
There we go.
Red-headed Mexican.
Let's trace ourselves back to somewhere else, shall we? The final card of the weekend. Eddie's changing the game over in the UK, but Showtime and PBC are putting on their little shitty fights over in America, including this one next weekend. Roshi Warren going in against Damian Vasquez, who I believe was last seen getting knocked out by Brandon Figueroa. Gary Antonio Russell, one of the many Russells, looks pretty decent at 18-0, going in against Emmanuel Rodriguez, who was last seen getting robbed by Raymart Gaballo. More importantly, in the main event, Andy, John Real Casimero against Guillermo Rigondeaux. We thought we were going to see Donaire against Casimero. I'm a Donaire fan, like his attitude and everything, but I think the whole bullshit with his wife getting involved and everything was a bit of nonsense, really. Keep him out of this shit, Andy. Let's make the fight between Casimero and Donaire. Don't let the wife get involved. That's the first rule of Fight Club. But we've ended up with Rigondeaux Casimero. Is that better than Donaire Casimero, do you think?
I'm going to say no. I don't know where Rigo is at this point in his career. I don't know if he's going to be boring the pants off us. Casimero is generally entertaining, good power, mixed at good levels, world level, and that, knocked out Tete, dropped him a few times, for what I can recall. Charlie Edwards fought Wrong twice, so he's had tough fights. Again, as I say, I've not seen that. I'm trying to think the last time I've seen Rigo fight, actually, to be honest with you. It might even be the Lomachenko fight. No, I think off the top of my head. As for the Donaire situation, look, I know she's his manager and all that type of thing, and Donaire's come out, he's raging, principles, drug issues, all that type of thing. I take the point because Casimero's working with that. You call him Memo Heredi, who Victor Conti's a big detractor of, and that. So I take the point. I do take the point that no idea drug testing is involved here. I would say at this point, though, I think with Rigo, again, I've not seen him for ages. I don't know where he's at in that, but I'm going to say Casimero wins the fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if he knocks him out. I really do believe that.
That's the thing, you just don't know. He was struggling against Seja, managed to get that big left hand in. From what I remember of the Laborio Solis fight, he was really looking very static, Rigo. I think you're right, Andy. I think it really lies in what he's got left in the legs.
Yeah, and how's he going to approach your fight in that as well? Because you can just see if he's going to sit behind that that southpaw jab, he's just going to throw it out 2 steps back on the jab again, and he'll probably try and look for the left hand down the middle, probably in the body, pit the stomach or something like that, and just rinse and repeat. I think it purely depends on what Rigo's got left and how Casimero wants to actually approach the fight. But I would not be surprised to see a stoppage and probably Casimero getting it, to be honest with you. Decent little fighter. Whether that's enhanced by whatever, not by his coaching staff or whatever, I don't know. But you just think at this point, Rigo has got to be ready to go at this point, and skills do erode over time. So does his speed, and obviously the punch resistance and that as well. And he's had God knows how many fights over his amateur and pro careers, and that combined must be fucking pushing 700 at least. So you think the time is going to be right here now for Casimero, who, again, I go back, I'm disappointed that the Donaire fight didn't happen. I think that would have been a cracking wee scrap. I think it would have been the first all-Filipino unification fight as well, I think.
Wow.
Possibly. So, yeah, disappointing, but again, as I say, this isn't kind of float my boat and that as such. I'll probably watch it first thing in the morning when I get up and that, but I'm going to say Casimero I'll go either 8-round stoppage or an 8-round retirement.
Wow, brave pick from Andy there, Matty. I think prime Rigondeaux, I'm sure we're all in agreement, would obviously deal with Casimero. I think he's a Casimero. Sometimes I think he gets unfairly painted as a bit of a crude slugger. He has that character about him, but he's not afraid to go down to the body. His boxing skills have improved over time. If you sit and watch him, he's got good head movement. He sets up his shots better than you think. This isn't just some, pig-headed slugger that's going in there. Casimero can box too.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of that looks crude, but's better than he seems thing going. A little bit Rung Vasai, a little bit. But I'll tell you what's a weird thing going on here, Steve. It's a strange moment. Is Rigo is going to probably be technically the bigger man in this fight.
Ooh.
People aren't thinking about that one. If he makes weight comfortably and everything, he's fought north of 126 pounds before. Rigo is definitely the bigger man in this fight, and I'm going to make an odd prediction, Steve. I don't know that Rigo is going to win, but my prediction is that his legs aren't there as much as they have been. Rigo is going to stand and trade. This fight is going to be pure entertainment. That is my prediction.
Wow, what do you think about that, Rapin Kelly? Pure entertainment. I wouldn't actually discard that. I think Matty makes a good point there. Rigo's legs are that old. He's going to have to stand and trade at some point, and he definitely, he can't be 55 years old forever, poor fella.
No, I think you're going to see that. I definitely think you're going to see Rigo trade off with him, and probably come out the best of it. I think Rigo's going to stop him.
Ooh, give us a round, Rob. Come on.
Before round 6, balls to the wall shit. He's going to stink the place out, isn't he? He's going to stink the place out. After I said that.
Oh dear, there you go. Wrapping up, Kelly. Points for Rigo, then, do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I'm going to say Rigo win.
Finally to you, Ozzy, what do you think on the Showtime Rigo Casimero unification main event? It's a good fight, isn't it?
Very good. Yeah, very good. Obviously disappointed the Donaire fight couldn't happen. I think it was weird, wasn't it? Because the Rigondeaux fight was originally scheduled. Then Rigondeaux stepped aside, allowed the fight to happen. And then I'm sure, was it drug testing the reason that Donaire pulled out, basically, because it wasn't going ahead?
He hadn't enrolled, mate, and it took for ages to get him to enroll. When then they started off the video telling Donaire's wife to go and suck. I think it was Heradia's fucking cock or whatever. And that.
He's got a little bit of a Mayorga thing going.
I see this at a time. I see this at a time now. What do you do in that? Do you want to be a man and beat the guy up for saying, "Look, suck my cock," or do you be the bigger man and say, "Listen, I ain't going to fucking pay you. I'm going to walk away"? What would you do? What would you do if that was like you in that position?
Deprive somebody of a massive payday.
Yeah.
Massively, absolutely.
Come on, boys, get on with it, man.
People
talk shit all the time.
I'd plug his nose and make him suck my
Okay, well, I would do. I'll probably do a bandana and try and knock him down right, and then try and grab his head and again like skull fuck him or something like that.
The Madonna hump was a fantastic.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, goat moment that.
But it's difficult. You just don't know what Rigondeaux's got left, do you? He didn't look great against, Solis. Was struggling with Sayer as well. You just don't know what he's got left. I mean, look, if he somehow rolls back the years and puts in, vintage might be the wrong word because he's been in some absolute snooze fests. But it could be a really difficult fight for him. I think Casimero will come, will come all guns blazing. He throws big shots. He knocks people out. If Rigondeaux decides to stand there and trade, it could be, who goes first. Because remember, Rigondaux's back at, a more natural weight now, not being pulled up, to super feather. It could be fun while it lasts, which, I know we've always not said that, but I'm going to go with a Casimero win. Just think he's more active, fresher. Happy to be wrong on this one. I just think we know more about Casimero and what he's been up to, whereas Rigondeaux, whilst he's had notice for this because he was training and he wasn't exactly, out. Well, he might well have stayed in camp, but he wasn't, it wasn't like 6 months, and then he's back in. It was more weeks rather than anything else. But yeah, for me, Casimero more active, busier, fresher, and I think he'll stop Rigondeaux. Could well make him quit. We've seen him do it once. Could a bit of a beatdown make him do it again? Quite possibly.
Interesting call, Ozzy. Looking forward to it anyway. On Showtime next week. Packed weekend. Fights on DAZN, Showtime, Top Rank, DAZN stateside as well. It's going to be exciting times ahead next weekend. This is episode 4. What are we on? 435. Matty's here, Andy. Ozzy. Rapping Rob Kelly's hanging on by a gnat's cock in the corner. He's still with us for Bellew of the Week. He's doing his best.
He's like Anthony Joshua against Andy Ruiz just now. Keep getting up after every knockdown, but the legs are shaky, Adam. The legs are shaky.
I was just going to say, we need Matthew Macklin just to start commentating the legs are shaky, Adam.
Oh dear! Right, let's get on to Bellew of the
Fucking
Week.
right! I can't even come up with retorts at the moment. I'm trying to
He can't even get to his mute button in time to respond. He's passing the place, Yeah. You want bed?
Fuck it.
Maybe a Bellew of the Week introduction will perk him up a bit. Let's have a look through the list and see which one we shall play tonight. Let's hit a bit of Bellew, shall we, everybody? Episode 435, Bellew of the Week.
This is Coogan Cassius for IFL TV in association.
Tony. I'm trying to say, stop, Coogs. I'm trying to just chill. Will you piss off?
Please, respect
Tony.
the man's privacy, Cougar.
Tony.
I don't want to be on camera or television.
You're at a public event.
I know, I've got
I'm
a couple
not
of...
on your doorstep.
I know, but, you know, I've stayed away from everything recently. People think I've disappeared. Well, I kind of have. I just want reality back. I want a normal life. And I will find it, because I will stay out of all your way for a good 12 months. You guys have always called me Tony Bellew. I only created the name Tony Bellew to make me our fella proud. My name's Anthony Bellew, mate. Tonight it's over, mate. Tony Bellew died tonight. I'm done, Cooks. I told you Tony Bellew died tonight. I just go home and I live life normal now. I enjoy my life. And it's over. And mate, Tony Bellew's gone now. I've been Tony Bellew for a long time. He can punch, obviously, but he's been able to punch and he's been able to really punch, turn lights out. You know, has he ever knocked anyone unconscious? I shouldn't really say that, should I? It's only been my bleeding luck, but I've done it on a number of occasions. You've seen me turn lights out, just out. I've done that. I can do that again. Would you wish bad on anyone? So there is something wrong in saying that. I don't hope Deontay Wilder gets hit or beat up. I hope he loses the fight, yeah. But I hope he's sound and he goes, right, nice one, just earned the right few million series after. So, you know, I don't wish anyone actual bad harm. I just think that's what's going to happen.
I'm on a hit and he's going to stay here. The only thing he's getting in with that belt, I said I give you a free shot on the chin. I can't knock me out. I cannot wait. You said at the weight, your legs are going. If you give me a free shot, mate, you're waking up in an ambulance. You're waking up in an ambulance. You're waking up in an ambulance. Let's do it right now. No.
Sounds like the soundtrack to your last night, Rob.
I know, yeah, waking up in an ambulance.
Oh dear. Shout out to Smiggers Titties, I think it was who made that one. Great job. From Tony Bellew. Let's get on to the Bellew of the weeks, and shall we, everybody? Golovkin's forearm. Boots Ennis is the future, and he's not even on here. Pat McGraw in 88 says, won't have a future once Conor Ben flatlines him.
Conor Ben.
Boots Ennis against Conor Ben, man. Let me put up a manslaughter on that one. Alex,
manslaughter, that's first degree murder, mate. Man, come on.
Alex jumped in as well. He says Conor Ben is good, but he's no Josh Kelly. I think Kelly knocks out Ennis Mexican style. Ben should test himself against an experienced veteran like Warrington or Ricky Hatton.
No, this has got to be a troll, this one. It has to be a troll.
Ricky Hatton, that's fucking fat camp.
It's got to be a troll, that one.
It's a solid start, that one. Like, it's a solid start. But there can only be one winner.
Oh, there can well, you never know. There could be several winners. Who knows here? Tim Boxeo, the ring surface in Egypt was so unusable, the promoter has decided to duct tape Persian rugs to the surface instead.
Cog the player in the ring.
Was it Egypt or ancient Egypt? What the fuck was going on there?
If you haven't seen this, boys, in Egypt, the rain was coming down that heavy, Andy, that the boys, like our friend there, just kept on slip sliding around. So the promoter puts down Persian rugs in the ring.
And then they fucking fell over them as well.
If you'll notice, they're all facing towards Mecca too. They never meant to be.
I actually located the YouTube link for it, so I stuck it on for like 5 minutes, right? And there was two women fighting, and the carpets are still in the ring, right? And the referee had to break them up and say neutral corner is try and put the fucking corners of the rugs back in their position.
Can you imagine flying in?
There we go. So the referee broke that up. Broke them up. He had to get that back, like Terry O'Connor style, with his feet, put it back into position, and away we go. But yeah, it was pretty horrendous stuff.
And meanwhile, Andy, the rain just kept hammering down on the rugs.
Eventually, they come off though. They took the harps off.
Oh dear, there you go. It's all going on in Egypt, everybody. Back closer to home, Shui EFC 1234. Eddie Hearn staying out of trouble during Ebony Bridges' weigh-in today. Tell us about the tattoos. Yeah, the Phoenix. Eddie wasn't biting. He was looking straight up at the ceiling, boys.
Any cheese from a weasel, mate? Any cheese from a weasel?
Shades of Joe Rogan and Misha Tate right there.
She'd be a flyweight if it wasn't for them big things at the front, would she? I think old Ebony.
He's like, there's cunts on the asylum not catching me this week. I'm not watching no fucking Phoenix, mate. I'm a fucking mug.
She'd be, without those, she'd be like Pacquiao in his first fight, and she'd have to wear something with pockets and put rocks just to get up to the minimum weight.
Eddie's like, oh, a bubble, mate. It's only a bubble.
Oh, dear.
Spam-headed wank bubble, by the way, that fucker.
Just surprised she doesn't tip over.
Hatem says, stay off Egypt, you cunts. Well, I mean, it's hard to stay off the minute with Bellew of the Week nominations like that.
Fight was in Egypt.
And then Matty
You're our
brings
favorite
up,
Egyptian.
Stay off Vegas, you fucking wankers.
And then Matty brings up Ebb's fucking Foster tits.
Good old Ebbs in action. Ian, Captain Chunk 17, was amongst many, many people who sent this in to me. Dunk topic. LeBron James, Rob, with 2 years of training versus prime Mike Tyson. Who you got, Rob?
And a hairy chest, but looks at as well.
What the fuck, man? LeBron James, with 2 years training at what? Like, I don't know.
Can I say something, by the way, especially if you've got children, anybody who's thinking about taking the kids to see Space Jam, don't fucking do it.
Fucking shite.
Shite, man. LeBron James has got the fucking personality of a fucking biscuit. Honestly, man.
He's only up against Michael Jordan for that. Like, it's not like he fucking, you know what I mean? But fucking, yeah, on that basis alone, Tyson smashed LeBron James up in space somewhere. You know?
Oh dear, the boy's throwing him in. Oh, here we go. Justin, amongst many other people, to send in main man himself into the guard.
Please play it.
Hang on, Andrew. Don't worry, I have it uploaded.
Yes.
Ready, boys. Here's the guard. Get ready. Here we go.
Watch out for Ebony Bridges, because she is potentially a Muhammad Ali for women's boxing. Why? Because she is a complete free spirit, like Muhammad Ali was. She can change the way society sees women boxers. The lingerie at weigh-ins, the posing, the total ownership of what her body is and what she's doing. Watch the space, because she is a fascinating person in the sport of boxing.
So that's the end of nominations this week, folks.
The lingerie at boxing, the posing. He's talking about himself.
That's all, folks. What's one of Rose would say?
She's able to walk just like Muhammad Ali. She breathes fresh air just like Muhammad Ali.
She refused to stand, Rob, in the famous Ann Summers versus Victoria's Secret battle. She refused to take part.
Spoken like a man who's truly seen the Phoenix, that was, wasn't it?
I wouldn't mind though, but like big, like Sky, BT, TalkSport, they give this nonce a fucking platform to spout this shit, and he's coming out comparing, literally a bird who is, quite well known because she gets her fucking tits out and wears lingerie at weigh-ins to Muhammad Ali.
And we're saucies in the ring as well.
Like, I just want fucking Perry PepsiCo to write the script when they turn it into a movie.
I wonder what else.
The lurid 30s thriller. Oh fuck!
I tell you, Gareth A. Davis were the one bidding, like offering loads of cash for Ebony Bridges' fucking socks. Coming out with comments like that. He reeks of that guy, isn't he? Like he'll get him back and just sat there sniffing at home whilst he rewatches the tattoo video. Show me the Phoenix.
Show me the Phoenix, mate. And at the same time, will you go for a fucking toilet? I'll sniff the toilet seat after you, by the way. That's what he's fucking doing.
She wore socks. She wore socks like Muhammad Ali.
Well, to really be like Muhammad Ali, she's going to have to be drafted. So I don't know what skirmish Australia is going to find their way into, but we'll see what happens.
After the weigh-in, he's down sniffing the scales.
Oh, mate, he's probably licking it.
Eddie, what you doing down there, Gareth?
Eddie didn't see nothing.
Eddie, is that Bono's mom?
See the Phoenix, mate?
Oh dear, it's gonna be a difficult one to
beat.
It's gonna be difficult to beat, Gad. Let's see what else we got then on the horizon. Mail Online Sport. Bob Aram says he hopes Usyk beats Anthony Joshua despite going against his interest.
and then if you read the article, he's actually got his proper spelling as well. So they really fact checked that one, you know.
Good old Osick. It says
Osick's a great guy.
Dippo Osho back on the scene. He said, I just watched a clip on TalkSport. So that's your first mistake, Dippo. With Perry Groves interviewing Eddie Hearn about the Joshua Usyk fight. I'm assuming he means Osick. Where he says, great fight, 2 Olympians. Somebody's always got to go. Did Eddie Hearn correct him? Did he fuck?
It's all foreshadowing a draw. That O is going. Everyone's going to be sad.
Eddie, massive event here. You know, everything's massive. Everything's, stacked. You got Tony Bellew Anthony Bellew repeating this stuff. Stacked card, mate.
Stacked card from Anthony.
Stacked fighters on his cards, at least.
Absolutely. Stacked up with something. Trevor Sinclair. What a day for the Galahad brothers, says Trevor.
Trevor Slave.
Must have had a few drops, I think, before he tweeted that one out.
Yeah,
Damien.
He's prone to drunk driving, that guy, as well.
No, he likes to drink drive, does Trev. Damien says, Crazy Carper on YouTube reckons we should be treated to round-robin tournament with a matchroom belt at the end of the following fighters. Babic, Majidov Andy, Dave Allen, Price, Takam, Chisora, Johnny Rice, and Bacoli.
Majidov would actually clear the fucking decks with everybody in one, baby. Pick them up, wipe his arse, and then fucking wipe that white stuff off the top of his knob and walk out the ring. Matchroom belt. That's like what was I watching the other week there in Russia? Actually, the Fight Club belt came in. That, and then the one that Joe Parker won in New Zealand, the Burger King belt. Remember that one?
Oh yeah,
Burger King, baby.
The thing is, though, don't, because it'll be the matchroom belt in association with the WBA or something like that. Anything that they can get their hands, their teeth stuck into, they'll be all over creating another belt.
The car.
I mean, what a shit tournament, by the way, as well. I mean, who even is Crazy Carper for a start? But what a wank tournament. Dave fucking Allen gets where water can't. My God. Bacoli, I mean, Billy Nelson will take that. He just needs a warm-up fight prior to that. But Billy Nelson will be all over.
They're seeing that contract, though.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh,
fucking David Price, man. David Price. David Price, man.
Get Pricey back out there. Come on, Andy.
I've got to say, Chisora. I fancy Chisora Majidov, in the final for that one,
Didn't Majidov, was he the one who injured his ankle or something, or his knee in his last fight, or am I thinking of somebody else? Did he go over on the ankle, Majidov?
I'm trying to think now. You
might be right.
Remind us in the chat.
Did he get knocked out?
Don't start.
He took that right hand. I think I can remember. I know what you're talking about, Steve. I just don't remember if it was Majidov. I remember exactly what you're talking about. Took a right hand, went over, and his ankle folded.
Mm. Don't get him off on ankles again, will you? For fuck's sake.
Get him down on the knee. Right, boys, come on. Let's keep it together.
Come on, let's go.
Past 10. Come on. Danny Flexen nominated Dominic Topless. Galahad is a cocky twat that is good at foot stamping to win. Nottingham would welcome you to the City Ground to challenge Lee Wood, but you won't be allowed to foot stamp, Ozzy. No foot stamping at the City Ground.
This is what I mean. You get these absolute cowboys who just think, who watch one fight and can put their opinions out there, and they've just not got a fucking clue. I'll be all over Galahad just so Dominic Topless. I honestly, Galahad wins and then he fucking foot stamps and then just points at Dominic Topless.
Dominic Ingle Topless.
Ingle will be all over that as well.
Oh dear. There we go. Andy sent me something to play. I'm going to try and get it cut as best as I can, boys, before the end of the pod. Doing the best for you at home. Episode 12. Sorry, Belly of the Week 12. What the fuck is this, says Paddy? Nomination from friend of the pod, Greg Cross, for Dillian's hat. There's no way he could see under that, man. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, man.
A string hanging down. He pulls it and a light goes on.
Do you want to smoke some shit, man?
He's like the kid from the Cosby Show, all grown up.
It looks like fucking what my Auntie Anne used to keep the fucking toilet roll under in her bathroom back in the fucking 80s.
Good old Dillian. Moving on, boys. Welsh Ollie was one of many people to knock Bellew out for this one. Tony Bellew has just told Maya Jama he's never been knocked out. Must class this as having a rest on the ropes.
Smell my anus, mate.
Up at 6, mate. Up at 6.
But listen, Dillian White was up at 8 though, mate.
I've been stopped on my feet.
Yeah, 8 the next morning.
Steve NFC, Bellew the nomination. Nomination. Nomination for Anthony Bellew under Zone, saying that when cutting weight, cervical fluid around the brain.
That explains it now. That explains everything.
Fucking cervical fluid.
that's pushing God close, by the way. Cervical fluid.
Jesus Christ.
Kevin Lorraine, you again, Andy, with this. Kevin Lorraine.
Everybody knows how passionate I am about cervical fluid. It's a passion of mine.
Oh, dear.
I've got tears coming out my eyes here. Sorry, oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh, your cervix.
It's in the uterus brain barrier.
Bad news, Andy, man. I can't get this video downloaded.
Mate.
Won't do, man. It keeps saying download file failed. Sorry about that.
Oh,
keep trying.
I'll mention it.
Eat, sleep, boxing, repeat.
How does he have a job talking?
Who, me?
No, not you. Fucking asshole Tony. How the fuck does he have a job talking? I don't know, man. The world's fucked up.
Right, eat, sleep, boxing, repeat.
Fluid.
Impressive stoppage by Ebony Bridges, who becomes the third woman to stop Beck Connolly. How would she get on against Shannon Courtney and Rachel Bourne in 2022? Richard Super Dicky says, who cares? Boxing scene, Andy, WBA president, aims to reduce the number of titles, hopes to start the plan in October.
Fucking dickhead. Absolute fucking dickhead, by the way. As I say, this maybe goes on to my choices, Bellew of the week this week, but as I say, they're creating another interim champion next week at bantamweight, right? And was Ozzy mentioned there the 2 belts in Dubai next week getting created, intercontinental belts, whatever it was, and that. I've got his quote here, right? I've not read it all out. There's like at least 4 different paragraphs here, but I'm going to say this bit at the end here. I love this comment. I'm not telling you I'm going to stay with a single champion in each division, but yes, most of the divisions I'm going to stay with one champion. It's a difficult plan. I hope that in October we're going to start it. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know in which divisions the interim belts will be removed and in which divisions the regular and super champions will remain. We're going to strengthen the gold belts that we have. So nothing's fucking changing. Nothing's changing, baby.
They're just going to probably start a subsidiary and split the company, you know.
It looks like there's a lot to unpack in this photo. One of the guys looks like he was the main kid who was trying to lead Calogero astray in Bronx Tale. And the guy in the middle looks like the guy in the middle looks like he's saying, let's make more titles, if you ask me. Make more titles. So, and the other guy, I don't know what his contribution is, but there's a shady looking character there in a hat as well. It looks like one of those Derek Cooper collages.
Rumour is so, Steve. Rumour, Steve. I've heard this by good sources in Panama. They're allegedly going to be renaming the regular belt to the tank belt. So Gervonta Davis is going to be legitimised very shortly as a 3-weight world champion.
That's handy. That fella that did the sculpture of Adrian Broner can just hand over that fucking thing that he did and let us put that on the belt.
Oh, dear. Zeconomics is nominated.
Fluid, man. Fucking hell. It's not getting together.
Let's just fucking call it off.
Zeconomics has nominated Matthew Macklin for not being able to work out how to use Fight TV. How do I get Fight TV, says Matthew Macklin. Anyone know what I could do from here? I could think of a few things, Matthew. Here we are, Andy. I've got good news, Andy, for you. I hate the fact people want to wait until you can sell it for more. I've got it. I've managed. I've tried hard work and dedication here. I've got the clip for you. Hopefully it'll play okay. Let's have a listen to what Eddie has to say here.
That is the problem. When a demand is so high, you see more activity on that secondary market. Don't be fooled by a lot of places that have tickets available. They don't actually have tickets available. They'll put in, blocks here and all that. We know, and one of the reasons that we work with StubHub is so that everything can be controlled in that respect. I do feel, and actually when you look at the numbers, I think it was around 2,000, slightly more on the resale market at the moment in StubHub, which is a small number. I hate the fact partly because we don't get any money out of it, that people want to buy a ticket and sell it for more. And the reality is, with that demand, I could have doubled those ticket prices and still sold them out in the same time. So I hate the fact that people are benefiting off that. We have no association and no involvement or financial gain with any secondary tickets, and we will never do that. I do feel.
Woo!
What a
so much bullshit.
fuckwad.
This is the guy who used to go about saying, like, say, oh, I sold the ticket 4 times out there, or that actual asking price. Meanwhile, I've been told the NHS staff are still waiting for their tickets, Eddie. Come on now. Evening, Ed. How you doing, mate? Come on, step up for the NHS workers. We're proud essential workers still waiting for the tickets to the event, free of charge. A £6 slice of pizza and a fucking £10 fucking pint of beer. Make it happen, Eddie. We're still waiting, mate.
Whoever told you you're essential?
The Zone's essential viewing. Billy the Fish nominated Cooking with John Fury. Fighting man pundit and proud father John Fury prepares some furious food for Boxing Social during a unique insight into his outdoor lifestyle. I'm a fighting man. There's your big John Fury there.
You need to turn up and fight Mickey Theo, though, mate. That's the
Cooking
thing.
with John Fury.
Yeah.
Just turn up.
Porky Promotions big triple header. It was Mickey Theo against Big John Fury, Porky against Spencer Fearon, and Mad Max against Big Shane Fury.
Oh dear!
Kind of looks like Bear Grylls, except you probably only go 500 feet off the road.
Bare knuckles. Good old John Fury there. Billy the Fish has nominated Ramla Ali, Not Without a Fight. She's bringing out a book. He's Miss Ali. Congratulations to her, whoever she is. Martin Hurry has nominated Ryan Pinder. He's one of these arse lickers. Your talent shows no end, Ebony. Pound for pound, one of the greatest women boxers in the sport at this moment. Who would disagree, boys? Who would disagree?
To be honest, mate, there's a lot of fiends out there who would absolutely rim her arsehole or tongue punch it the fuck by the way. I'm telling you.
Maybe gold medalist Kelly Harrington might have something to say about that. Shout out to her from Ireland picking up the gold medal. And I heard she had.
Surprised you stayed awake to see that, actually.
I wasn't. I think I was fucking awake to see that.
Did it happen, Rob?
Who knows?
It happened.
Well, I heard Katie Taylor had some advice for Kelly Harrington. She had great news for Kelly winning a title, and if she decides to go for another Olympic campaign, she can eventually sign a 25-fight deal with Eddie, where he will rinse her soul, going up and down the weight, up and down the weight, up and down the weight. Eventually, she has no more. So, good luck to her.
That's Rob putting on his real voice here, because he's struggling like fuck right now.
That's her greatest interview since this one.
We were all nervous. We were all praying today. But what was it like moments before this Olympic final for you? Were you really nervous?
I just want to thank Natasha for the great fight. It's a great opportunity, and Eddie, just want blessed to have a great. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. It's bad, man. It's bad, man. Katie, I'm sorry, man. It's
He's on his knees before he marries his wife. He's on his knees.
Oh, we love you, Katie. Right, final few. Andy, what the hell is this? What the hell is this?
I have got no idea, mate. I've seen it. It was Tim Boxeo. I think I seen it in his Discord server last night. I says that is a Belly of the Week birthday. A gas hob picture. That is fucking quality. So this fight happened back in April. I haven't even checked out the result or anything like that. I didn't know who these guys are, but I just thought that was like a poverty level type fucking designer poster they put up there. Like, that's just horrendous, man. Look at the state of it. Look at the fucking state of that.
That looks like a shitty movie that you'd find at Blockbuster after right before a blizzard hits, and there's like 10 titles left on the shelves, and you're like, fuck, I guess I'll take this one.
Like a fake Jackie Chan film or something like that.
I'm guessing some
Jackie
sort of Indonesian kung fu film. I don't know what their martial art is, but yeah, this will work.
It's not Jackie Chan, it's Jackie Chan.
You have offended me, Vince.
They're going to end up fighting a dragon. Someone dressed as a dragon at the end, aren't they?
Fucking rather chase a fucking dragon, to be honest with you, mate.
Well, if it's like most of the Asian movies I've seen recently, Asian's going to be a theme underneath it all.
I've come to see the Phoenix.
No, in these films, it'd be the fetus, Rob. It would be the fetus.
The fetus.
The
cervical fluid.
You're my fetus. Oh, wind your way right back.
Yes. We're on form tonight, boys. And talking of chasing the dragon, what's Ricky Gravel doing turning up at the undercard? Andy, what's his...
Chasing the dragon, obviously. Right, Ricky. Oh, mate. State of that. He's on the Swedgers that one. Like, look at the stadium, by.
I surrender to your soul. I surrender to your loving eyes.
I tell you what,
that looks like somebody's picture after their first round of chemo.
Back in the day, by the way, in Rainbow Rocks, I'd see that guy in the middle of the dance floor with a fucking with a glow stick start going, yeah, man, Swedgers, baby, blah, 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 blah. You know, fucking total absolute. Look at the nips. His nips are hard on the end there, man. Look. That's the Tiesto and all that type of stuff. Like, yeah, baby. You know.
And Christian Bale lost 40 pounds for this role.
Emaciated. Best bet of the week in ages, Andy says Jim McDonald, by the way.
Matthew Hatton loves the chats.
I bet you Dillian White stole that guy. That's what Dillian White got the hat off. He stole it off that guy lying on the beach somewhere or something like that. You know?
Oh, God.
Stadium, man.
Right, that's all the ones I've got, boys. I know you've thrown a few in already, Andy, but have you got any more?
Yeah, I've got a few, mate. Obviously, that Gloria Martinez Rizzo for giving Gabriel Maestri every fucking round for round 5 onwards last night. Disgraceful cards. WB present, you've got that. You've got Hearn as well, mate. So I think you've got all the best ones. Alan Babic for get on his knee there last night, begging a wife to marry him. I mean, dude, come on, show some fucking decency. Be a man. Stand on 2 feet. Fucking ask the question.
Eddie will probably have fighting the wife next week.
Well, I'm thinking right now actually that Eddie's going to put the wedding on, just like Randy Savage and Prince Elizabeth did in WWE. So I think Eddie's thinking about that as well. So he'll be phoning Vince McMahon for some tips and that. Oh, Elizabeth, I love you. That type of shit. So yeah, there was something I was kind of floating in the back of my mind actually. So I just basically on that judge last night, that Gloria Martinez. As I say, I know Dick Tupper wore a mask when they robbed people, but so did she there last night as well, robbing that Michael Fox here last night. So poor fucker. So one for her, as I mentioned, and there was one for Bellew. Was he wearing socks last night? Or was he wearing that suit with no socks on last night?
Yeah, no socks.
They might have been like short golf socks.
Anthony, you wear socks with a suit on, mate. Right? You didn't go about like that. That's just a shambles. Put on socks next time.
That's coming from a regular soccer hooligan, you know what I mean?
Nobody look at me, mate. I'm not looking for any attention here with me no socks on. Just leave me alone.
But I tell you what, mate, Gareth Davis has certainly got a competition this week with that one by what was that one?
Tony with the cervix and the Persian rugs is right up there for me.
It's up there as well. But Tony with the cervical comment, about the brain and that's pushing Gad very close to the edge here. That's all I've got, mate.
Okay, Matty, any from you?
I've got nothing, man. It's not worth any competition. We all know how this is ending. We all know.
Ozzy, what about yourself?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Ex-footballer Trevor Sinclair. After Kid Galahad won, beat Jazza Dickens tweeted, "What a day for the Galahad brothers." Clearly getting confused with Galalia Fi. And thought him and Kid Galahad were brothers. So, yeah, he put that out. And then somebody said, "You've had a shocker, Trev." And he said, "I'm on the red wine. I'm just buzzing for them." Still not realising his actual original error. And then the other one, which I wouldn't necessarily somewhat laugh at, but Robert Easter Jr. Story broke just before is now a wanted man after he's been sought by authorities after he's allegedly punched a woman and knocked her out cold in Ohio, and he's now on the run.
Who's that?
Robert Easter Jr. So yeah, the woman claims to have been rendered unconscious, and cops say they saw her have a busted lip and a chipped tooth.
What the fuck's with these Toledo fighters?
His best win in years, isn't it?
She's doing well in the
It's
he wasn't dressed as Spider-Man at the time, was he, boy? Oh my
God! That's bad, though,
What? You know, Jesus fuck, if he punched with that kind of spite in a prize fight, he actually might make something of himself.
Fucking hell.
Oh
That's
God.
bad, man. Easter Jr. He's rangy as well. Like, that's not good. That's not good.
Needs to get on the road with AB and Maurice Hooker driving, I think, Rob. That's the ultimate threesome.
Hands on the wheel, Errol.
Oh yeah, Errol as well. No, I'll take it, Maurice. Give me, let me drive.
I was thinking if Broner, if Broner really wants to take shit seriously now, right? He should just pack up on steroids, and if he gets popped, he should just say that woman in the back of the limo was taking the steroids. It wasn't him.
Back to Galahad's brother. Sorry, Ozzy, any more from you?
No. I mean, I think we know who the winner is, don't we? I mean, it's been one of the best ones we've done in absolutely ages, but I think we know who's winning this, and by an absolute landslide.
Oh, there's a few, man. LU, Gad. I don't know. Rob, any nominations from you?
No, man, no. Say the Phoenix. See, fine ass Serafina on Triller.
Fine ass
that said, it said she was mounting the pad to Joel Santana's pad on Hey Ma, where it says, "I'm 18 and live a crazy life." Well, I thought, well, half of that's true anyway. I think but she's, yeah, shout out to her. But no, man, it's hard to top Gad. Like, and Bellew, I think it could be a fucking rematch for next week or something. We might have to fucking take a poll on it. Like, it's very, very close.
Draw straws, mate.
Right. Let's see who we're going to go for then. Gad is right up there. Bellew, I think, has put in a really strong one this week, but I'm going to surprise a few here. I think it's hard to beat putting down fucking Persian rugs in a ring, man, and sellotaping them to the Come on, man. This is a prize fight.
Never occurred to any of them, just call it off. Come back tomorrow, maybe. When it's not ready.
Fancy rolling them out. I mean, come on. It's got to be the rugs for me, Andy.
And then you see the referee use his feet to kind of get the fucking dog end rolled.
Some fella like Kenny fucking Dalglish or the Phoenix Knights just nodding and winking at fellas with a van full of carpets. Have you thought about the rain yet? Don't worry about it. Have it sorted, mate.
You have to wonder if there were people in the crowd that just happen to have Persian rugs, or if there was a person that was like outside selling them as people are coming in, on the corner. Persian rugs, $10. And they're like, yeah, we need 15.
Compare Liam McGregor, right, when he came in the ring there on Friday. He had plastic bags on his feet, and he had to step in the ring into a towel. Nah, mate, we'll have 15 Persian rugs on order, please. Which, by the way, are they fucking cheap? My gran had quite a few Persian rugs. She used to fucking bang them down
She had a fight in her house.
She had a fucking... she had seasons for them. She had seasons with different colours and had seasons for them, right? I'm like, she died. They go and clear the house out. It took me a fucking fortnight to empty all these fucking carpets, man.
And it's proper Phoenix Nights, though, isn't it, man? Like Brian Potter putting down a cork ring, 40 grand cork floor there in the ring.
Mate, and they hardly like the fucking carry. See me roll them up. It's like a corpse you're carrying, man. They wanted this.
You're killing me, lads. Kelly, get me Sandak.
Ames says, imagine getting knocked out on that comfiest knockout ever.
It's taken Andy back to when he spilled Christmas dinner on the floor and just took one from his grandpa upside the head,
I'll tell you a true story of mine, right? My dad used to say, right, he says, listen, mate, he says to me, see when you're younger, he says, I always wanted to get a new carpet. He says, but I used to see you shite on the carpet, right, when you used to take a nappy off you. And I used to hate you for it. But then when I seen you like drop your crisps and eat it off the same carpet, I says, that's fucking karma for you, wee wanker.
What's with you destroying fabric in the family home, Andy?
Craig says, did they vacuum them between bouts?
Yeah, that woman off Terry and June just doing a shake and vac in the middle of the ring.
I would have been just running my feet up and down him and then touching my opponent in distance.
A magic carpet's the ref floating off somewhere in the air. Oh my god! Right, anyway, that's who I'm going for. Andy, you going for?
Like Prince Naz coming out in the carpet against whoever it was. Oh,
hey, where's the referee gone?
Fucking, what's his name? Ian Dart raging in the background. This is outrageous walking out the ring. It was no Thanksgiving. You had all the coffins and the gravestones in the background. He's losing his shit in that, you know. Oh my god. Look, Gareth A. Davis came in quite early this week, so he was like a top runner. Then up stepped the man, Anthony Bellew. You know, I've got the cervical in my brain.
It looks like they have some nice mahogany furniture to set off the medical table there, right, to go with it.
I'm sorry. Listen, the Egypt situation was unfortunate. Deeply unfortunate.
Hasn't that been the same story for the last 50 years?
Since the empire crumbled, Matty. But I must admit, Bellew has absolutely stepped up to the mark with that one. Like that is, I'm going Bellew. Sorry, I need to go Bellew.
It's just all been downhill since they burned down that fucking library.
Jim McDonald says there is a Persian rug in my cabaret suite. Oh god! Right, one for the Persian rugs, one for Bellew. Then it's getting tough, Matty. It's tighter than you would have thought. Who are you going for?
Don't David Alexander go beat.
I was all in for Anthony until the banter about the rugs because my eyes are wet with tears of laughter. So you swayed me. You got a career in politics, Steve. I'm all about the rugs now, buddy.
Oh, there's two for the rugs, one for Anthony. Who are you going for, Ozzy?
I'm sorry. It's got to be the sock sniffer, Gareth A. Davis. I am not. You cannot compare basically just a relatively unknown female boxer to Muhammad Ali and be genuinely serious about it. The rug thing is laughable. Bellew is an error. But Gareth A. Davis was adamant in what he said. And you don't like, it's not just a miscomparison. He then went on to justify why he compared Ebony Bridges to Muhammad Ali. Now, Muhammad Ali isn't just some absolute no mark. So, yeah, it's got to be Gareth A. Davis. I'm shocked that, everybody else didn't go for him. Really shocked because it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I said previous for, but what I was going to say is there isn't, well, Steve, you'll probably know better than the rest of us, actually, to be honest with you. I mean, how many full-time boxing combat sports writers has the UK or Ireland got these days, right? And Gareth A. Davis is at the fucking top of the chain here, by the way. This is the shite he's coming out with. I mean, come on. Can you imagine like Harry Millen coming out with that shite back in the day?
No, definitely not.
Imagine even like Jeff Powell, Colin Hart coming out with something like that on the Box Nation sofa.
I would like Colin Hart, Jeff Powell, not so much because he fucking forgets shit. But I would say Colin Hart wouldn't be fucking too shy in bringing forward his opinions. Like,
right, one for Bellew, two for the rugs, one for Gad. It's all on the line here, Roberto. Come on, pull yourself together. Who are you going for?
Gareth A. Davis, pedophile.
Fucking Jesus Christ. Well, we all know I'm against that, mate. So if there's any of that going on, I'll be there to stomp it out, mate, and get you tracked down.
Sock sniffer.
But like Bellew is like Ozzy says, it's an error. Like it's a classic error, and then any other week it'd stroll it. Like, but Gareth A. Davis is somehow equating winning 3 heavyweight titles, the youngest heavyweight titleist ever at the time, upsetting the odds countless times, standing for fucking a cause, being the most recognizable sportsman in the history of the world, not just sport.
Managed to free 4 Irishmen who were actually under a hostage situation in Iraq Fucking Muhammad Ali goes to Iraq to get him fucking freed. He talks guys off fucking building ledges for committing suicide.
A worldwide legend. He's equating that with the one who has ownership of her body and sells her smelly socks on Twitter and laminated posters. Like, there's a lot of similarities there when you think about it. What a fucking cretin, man. Oh my God. She's a mammal like Muhammad Ali. Wretched. It's got to be bad.
You know what Muhammad Ali's first question to her would be? How are you for pussy?
Rumble, young man, rumble.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Oh.
if you read Sugar Ray Leonard's book, what's it called? The Big Fight. He says he was shocked, absolutely mortified, when the first question that Muhammad Ali asked him was, "How are you for pussy?" That's what the champ said, baby.
I must be the greatest.
I'm up and down those rat holes.
The fuck did our host What's wrong with him? Maybe he just got fucking, what you call it, when he saw the Phoenix, that was it. He just did some kind of secret spell in the Phoenix, like, got one for art, but really, did you ever see the Phoenix? Bing! Muhammad Ali. I don't know what happened, like, but he's definitely feeling the effects laid on, like we said, God.
100% bet he said a danger wank somewhere about her, eh? Got to have, man. Probably in the worst toilet somewhere, possibly.
Well, he could go to your man's house if he wanted to, if it has the shrine to her.
Bulldog's house.
Steve, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right.
Bulldog.
I thought maybe you might have gotten fucking jihaded for our fucking rug discussion.
I'm not sure. I think I'm back. You hear me again?
Bulldog would have got a soapy sponge,
yeah, we can hear you, man.
folded it in two, and then wrapped the fucking toilet lid on top of him, babe, and then fucking rattled that. That's what he'd have done.
Well, I'm going to wrap this up, boys. I don't know what's going on, man. I think I'm being attacked by the dark web here. Attacked by somebody. Maybe it's Gad phoning in from somewhere. Right. Okay, so 2 for Gad, 2 for the Persian rugs. I collect them all, as you know, for the Belly of the Week, for the Belly of the Year, sorry, at the end of the year. So I shall put them both forward. And I'll play this one more time just for posterity, just for lols, for the banter. Here's Gad talking about Ebony Bridges before we finish up Belly of the Week, 435.
Watch out for Ebony Bridges, because she is potentially a Muhammad Ali for women's boxing. Why? Because she is a complete free spirit, like Muhammad Ali was. She can change the way society sees women boxers. The lingerie at weigh-ins, the posing, the total ownership of what her body is and what she's doing. Watch the space, because she is a fascinating person in the sport of boxing.
There we go. Gad. Congratulations, Gad. Episode 435, flying on your Persian rugs. You are the Belly of the Week. Right, let's finish up then, boys. It's nearly 10 o'clock. I always have a go at poor Matthew, and I'm doing exactly the same here. Right, thank you to everybody who's been on this evening. We've had a great time. We've had a good laugh, haven't we? Everybody in the chat seems to have had a laugh as well. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, leave us a review if you like what you hear. If not, as I say, every week, life's too short. Go and listen to a different podcast. Thank you to Rob Kelly, who's been on with us. Thank you to Ozzy Smith, who's been on with us as well. Matty DJ Leonardo, as always, Andy Patterson, the Rock of the Asylum. Thank you to Adam Smido Smith, who was on with us earlier on. Thank you to our super chatters, Dominic Henry, Mark Campbell, Kaiser Koba, Gary Kavanagh as well. Welcome to all our new Patreon subscribers over at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. If you like what we do and if you enjoy us every week, hit a super chat or hit a Patreon. Why don't you? I've been Steve Wellings. We shall catch you all again.
Play the outro.
Same time, same place next week. I'm searching for it now. Ooh, bye.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam Move! We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. 7-year ain't.
I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. As simple as that.